How's it going, freaks? I think I got rid of there was like this RF signal. I could hear a radio station inside my microphone or headset. Yeah, but I think it came from this booster that I've got called, what is it? Cloud filter. It actually boosts the audio because these Shure microphones have really low audio, so you have to get it boosted up. And I don't think I have can't hear it anymore. I just moved it around a little bit, but man, you could hear it like full-on songs, really low though. Maybe that's what Kay was talking about when she said she was listening to a song. But yeah, lots of updates today. Interesting stuff out there. Maybe we could start off with Elena Moore. To be right here. Yeah, right there. So in the Elena Moore case, remember she's the lady that's missing, was missing. She was at a gym, and then a week before that she was seen on camera at somebody's door, and then sort of improvised regarding the DoorDash delivery. I seemed like there's something off with her mentally, and then they found her body not too long after that, or a few days later. And then a lot of people are saying, oh, the boyfriend did it, the husband did it, etc., 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 over and over and over again. And it says right here, autopsy results for Elena K. Moore. Lexington County Coroner Margaret Fisher is releasing the preliminary findings from the forensic autopsy of Elena K. Moore, which was conducted on Saturday, June 20th, 2026, at MUSC in Charleston. The autopsy did not identify an immediate cause of death. Examination of the body revealed no evidence of traumatic injury, including no bruising, no lacerations, no gunshot wounds, no stab wounds, no blunt force trauma, no strangulation, or other external injuries. Isn't that exactly what I said was going to be what they're going to find here? And then it says, as a result of the cause of death remains, pending. And it's going to come down to, as we've already said 1,000 times, it's going to come down to some sort of drugs or something happened to her, because she did have a heart problem. Apparently, that's what people said. And it's going to come down to either drugs or that. It's not going to have anything to do with, now what they're holding out hope for, the people who want to invent true crime, is they're holding out hope that the boyfriend or somebody was drugging her over time, and then she eventually succumbed to it. Except that doesn't make any sense, since she never went to the hospital other than the mental hospital, and she wasn't, nobody said she was showing signs of being sick and throwing up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's not likely going to be the case either. What it probably might, come down to is that she had drugs in her system, and that combined with her already existing heart issue resulted in her passing away. Doesn't that make sense? And right in here, they say basically the same stuff. 39-year-old personal trainer was reported missing on June 12th. Her body was found on June 17th in the area of Old Cherokee Road. We've gone over this whole thing. We had, for the 75th time, she comes out of this Planet Fitness over here. She likely turned and went around the building. That's why law enforcement said, it looked like she was heading to the woods behind Lowe's. And then even today, they keep saying that the video that you see right there is in front of Publix over here. And it just isn't, it's amazing after all these days, they're still not correcting something. I even sent them an email saying, hey, why don't you guys be the first one to correct this? It's ridiculous. All right. So anyways, she walked around, and then she ended up walking in front of Kohl's here. And then she obviously walked in front of Publix, because they have another video apparently. And then from there, you'd make your way out to the street over here. And then she walked around, and eventually her body was found below. That's not where it was found. It's right here. Okay, so when she comes out of Publix right here, comes over there, I skip right by that one. It's right here is where she was found. Underneath this bridge even. So, you could, you can't really go underneath the bridge on Google Earth, but down there, somewhere underneath there, that's where she was found. And it makes sense, given the direction she was walking. Now you might say, well, maybe somebody was standing there below the bridge and grabbed her, etc. But now we don't have any strangulation marks, nothing at all visible that would indicate the cause of death. All right, so now it's going to come down to the, chemistry, what kind of drugs and so forth were in her system. All right. And that's it, I mean, we're just going to have to wait. That's going to be, it might take weeks to get that information. But, I mean, that means she did a full autopsy, looked in there. I think she has a boyfriend or something. Yeah, it's not a husband or whatever. She'd been with the guy for 13 years. I think it is a husband. What do you mean no husband? What do you mean? They were with each other for 13 years, apparently. And he's like devastated by this. All right. So are people still thinking there's something nefarious going on here in this case? And I'm telling you, the first day we covered it, I thought she did something to herself, or it was a medically, like some sort of serious medical condition happened. Yeah, he didn't do anything. Right. Why is it crazy, Timothy? It just seems pretty typical. Like, this is like a lot of cases out there where, I mean, it's not like, they go underneath a bridge or something like that, but it just doesn't seem, I mean, I don't know. It's sort of interesting, I guess. Hey, thanks, Alley Cake. Appreciate it. I guess it's so. When you say crazy, I guess the part that's crazy is she goes in the apartment, and she seems like she's out of it a week before, just trying to. I thought maybe she was like on a Tinder date or something, because she seemed like she wanted to go into the apartment, and then wasn't sure if it was the right apartment, but then even said, "So you just want the food?" Like there was supposed to be something else. So it was kind of, sort of interesting there. I don't know what the reality is. All right, so that is the update there. We're going to have to wait till we get the information coming in. All right. And so there's Barry Morphew information also. I kind of want to go do, and then there's Tyler Robinson. Like there was a hearing today. We can play that. It's like 30 minutes long. But let's just go into, do you want to do that one next, or do Nancy Guthrie, or what do you want to do? Yeah, maybe something like that. And drugs. I don't think anybody killed her or anything. Other than, maybe the person who sold her drugs or something. You make a case. There must be some other live stream right now. It's so hard to get even 100 people in here anymore, It's wild. But while you're watching the show, if you guys want to help support the channel, that would be awesome. We had Alley Cake down there. All right, which one do you want to do next? I'll just do Nancy Guthrie. Okay, so we had this, there's this information that's coming out about the ransom notes, right? So we first have this one from
I want to
TMZ.
talk about
Right.
I want to talk about Nancy Guthrie and some communications I've had with the FBI that I haven't talked about until now. But I want to start with these reports that this ransom letter that we received kind of apologizes to Savannah Guthrie and her family for the kidnapping, and
It doesn't seem very likely that she went under the bridge to buy drugs. But I'm not going to rule. All I'm saying in the case is that she died of drugs. In the Elena case, she died of drugs, or some sort of medical incident happened. That it isn't somebody intentionally went over there and killed her. Okay, that's all I'm saying. I don't know what mechanism or how. None of us do. So if somebody says, "Oh, she went under the bridge to hook up with another homeless person to buy drugs," I can't say. I don't even think that that's ludicrous either. To me, that's sort of like, I mean, you know why I say that? Because in Portland here, under every bridge, we have like 50 homeless people that do drugs. Okay, it's ridiculous. So for me, it seems like that's just like normal. Anyways, back to Nancy Guthrie.
that this ransom letter that we received kind of apologizes to Savannah Guthrie and her family for the kidnapping, and that that Nancy was no longer alive. That was not in the ransom note.
Yeah, so he's saying there was no apology in the ransom note
That we received. It is not in that ransom note at all. It does say that she's scared, but okay. But the ransom note makes no reference to...
Well, it's kind of weird, too, because it almost sounds like then he doesn't have the second ransom note. Because there's a first ransom note, and then there's a second ransom note that sure as hell wouldn't mention that. Because we have Brian Enton. He just got some information this evening. So we'll be playing that here in a second.
Nancy Guthrie either dying or the kidnappers apologizing. Now, there is a reference to Nancy Guthrie not being alive anymore, but that is from the person who sent us multiple emails.
So this guy's saying it's the one that sent multiple emails, but that's not what Enton's saying, I don't think. So he's saying that she wasn't alive anymore in the multiple emails that were sent, but I don't agree with that. Because Savannah Guthrie knew that Nancy wasn't alive when she said her little statement that she made with her brother and sister right next to her, when she says, "We understand now." That one, okay? That one she already knew. So I don't know if they ever got the second one. Nah, they kept saying they got all of them. If you go back in time, they say that they got them all.
Mails saying that he knows or knew where Nancy Guthrie was and where the kidnappers were, and he wanted money in return for information. We passed that along to the FBI as we did the ransom note, but this person kept sending us emails, and early on he said time is of the essence, and then a few days after the kidnapping he said time is no longer of the essence, meaning she wasn't alive. So that's where that came from. Not the people who kidnapped her, but from the person who was sending us these notes. Now, that person wanted effectively $100,000. He actually reduced it at some point.
I've never heard him say that.
But that's what he wanted
I don't
in
agree.
return for
I've never heard
giving
him say
information
that.
about.
I remember at the beginning, he got the first one, then he got the second one. He kept releasing them. He was doing all. That's what he was saying, anyways.
The whereabouts
Maybe there's one that he didn't know about or something.
of Nancy Guthrie or her remains and the kidnapper. This person also said that he was afraid that he might be implicated. He had a burglary on his record from, I think he said, 11 years before. And apparently he knew these kidnappers well enough that he was afraid.
I don't like potato wedges, I guess. That's what Vicky said. I don't like potato wedges. Whatever the hell that means, man. Whatever the hell that means. Nobody knows what that means.
He might be implicated. He also said he wanted to go underground, which is why he needed the money, because he was afraid that they would exact revenge on him for blowing the whistle on the kidnappers. So, the FBI never paid that money, or never got the Guthrie family to pay the money to the person who was sending us these letters, these emails. I will tell you that the FBI did put around $270 in the Bitcoin account of the kidnappers. And we.
Yeah, you know, I've noticed that too. The trolls that come in here are morons. Have you ever noticed that? Like, their brains don't work. They come in here and they say things that don't make sense to anybody, and they don't make sense to anybody with a rational mind. So then you just sort of wonder, like, where are they coming from? They come in and just make strange comments. Nobody even knows what the hell they're talking about. It's wild. It's crazy. It's almost amazing. That's why they're trolls, because they're stupid people that believe things that somebody told them because they're dumb. You get it?
We knew that. We were asked not to talk about that while all of this was going on, but they wanted to see if they could trace that person. They couldn't. As for this other person, the FBI took it seriously. They felt, at least in my communications with them, and I had numerous communications, they felt that this person might indeed know. For some reason, they never paid or never asked the Guthrie family to pay that person for information leading to the identity of the kidnappers and Nancy Guthrie's remains. I was always confused about that because I'm a skeptical guy.
I gotta understand what the hell he's saying. I had to go back. Sorry. But hey, thanks up there to Wild Bill Lossman, Karen, Alley Kick, etc. Okay, here we go.
Said time is of the essence, and then a few days after the kidnapping, he said time is no longer of the essence,
okay,
meaning
she died.
She wasn't alive. So that's where that came from. Not the people who kidnapped her, but from the person who was sending us these notes. Now that person wanted effectively $100,000. He actually reduced it at some point, but that's what he wanted in return for giving information about the whereabouts of Nancy.
See, I think this guy is the one, the other person, you know? Hey, look at that.
Nancy Guthrie or her remains.
Thanks, Bad Juju. They said, I'm 7 months as a Megazoid. Well, thank you. If everybody was a Megazoid, I wouldn't have to worry about super chats, etc. I joined when Charlie Kirk was murdered because I was impressed how Gray analyzed things with science, maps, timelines, logic, and common sense. That's kind of what we do here, right? Logic, reason, and common sense, right? I mean, and I do the mapping, you know, so that's kind of what we do here. Yeah, I think the first two, they know they're real because of what was said in them. I don't know. The one he seems to be talking about right now in this thing is that third. Remember the group, the guy that said he knows where her body is in Mexico and this kind of stuff. It seems like that's the guy. And then remember he changed the amount later. So this isn't this person that TMZ is talking about right now, is not the original 2 ransom notes that law enforcement thinks are real. But I don't know what Lisa's talking about up there. Maybe she has a link or something where he said that he didn't get the second one.
And the kidnapper. This person also said that he was afraid that he might be implicated.
Right.
He had a burglary on his
Mexico.
record from, I think he said, 11 years before. And apparently he knew these kidnappers well enough that he was afraid he might be implicated. He also said he wanted to go underground, which is why he needed the money, because he was afraid that they would exact revenge on him for blowing the whistle on the kidnappers. So,
well, there's been nobody proved that the one that he got that was they never caught that guy. They didn't know if he was an imposter or not. Interestingly enough, is the second guy, the one that he's talking about. He said they could, she was buried in Mexico somewhere. He saw her in Mexico or something. And then that's where, that tip came out recently where they were searching near the Mexico border. So, sort of interesting like that. Oh, by the way, everybody, put out some positive vibes for Jason Bourne. All right, he's got this, remember he's got the kidney stones, and he's had to do some stuff where they, make them little smaller pieces or something, and now he's going to have them removed on, I think, Wednesday. So put out those positive vibes for Jason Bourne. All right. Positive vibes work.
The FBI.
That's why Tiger Woods used to make all those putts.
Never paid that money, or never got the Guthrie family to pay the money to the person who was sending us these letters, these emails. I will tell you that the FBI did put around $270 in the Bitcoin account of the kidnappers, and we knew that.
You mean $152?
Were asked not to talk about that while all of this was going on, but they wanted to see if they could trace that person. They couldn't. As for this other person, the FBI took it seriously. They felt, at least in my communications with them, and I had numerous communications, they felt that this person might indeed know. For some reason, they never paid.
So that's interesting. So he was told by the FBI that they thought that the person that was communicating with him might also know too.
Or never asked the Guthrie family to pay that person for information leading to the identity of the kidnappers and Nancy Guthrie's remains. I was always confused about that because I'm a skeptical guy, but there's something about those emails that made me believe that this guy may well have known who the kidnappers were. And the reason I say that is that initially he said, in the first letter, he said, time is of the essence, meaning you better hurry up, I can tell you where she is. But then the next day he wrote, time is no longer of the essence.
So you would have known.
If somebody is scamming and wants to get money,
why
would they
that?
say time is no longer of the essence? You want to say, no, time is still of the essence, so you can get the money and make people feel that it's urgent to pay it. For him to say it's no longer of the essence, to me it felt more truthful because he was taking away the urgency to.
I agree with that. If that's a real thing, I agree with that. That's using logic, reason, and common sense. They often don't use that on TMZ, but sounds like that's what he's doing there. If it does say that, then you have to agree that that makes sense. What he's saying there is, why would you take away the leverage, basically, of getting a ransom note, right?
Pay the money. So I always had this gnawing sense that he might be indeed legit. But for some reason, the FBI never pulled the trigger to pay the money. So around 3 weeks ago, I called the FBI back. I hadn't heard from them in a while. And I said, look, it's been gnawing at me for a long time that there's something about this guy that felt legit. And I said,
That's him
look,
talking. He just
what
sits
if
there.
TMZ does a documentary and that we try and get in touch with this guy and even pay the money? And if he takes us to the location, then you get resolution. The Guthrie family gets resolution. And if he scams us, he scams us. But I just had this real feeling
Well, why didn't you
that
just do that on your own?
it might be real. But we didn't want to interfere with the investigation. So the contact I had at the FBI said, look, that's interesting. Let us get back to you. And I talked to him.
I think this element here sounds like it's pretty consistent with what he was saying before. I understand not believing, like most of the stuff Harvey says, you just kind of take with a grain of salt, whatever. But this sounds like legitimate conversations he has. He's referring to the FBI. It seems like it'd be kind of weird if he was just making up shit all over the place, and the FBI would be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I think he's telling the truth here. What I didn't like was early on when they had that other video of the person in the neighborhood that had the two backpacks on. He tried to sort of eliminate the factual elements that would counter completely that as being the person that was at Nancy Guthrie's door, even so much as saying to the co-host, "Oh, don't say that. That'll just confuse people." You're right, because it'll confuse them, because that means it'll completely debunk what you're saying. And I thought that was really just low, crappy, shitty journalism, sensationalism all the way to the bank.
Few days later, and he said, well, it's something they're looking into. And I thought, okay, fine. And then a week passed, and I called back and left a message, and usually my messages were responsive, where they would call back, and I got nothing back. And I've called a half a dozen times since over the last couple of weeks, and I've gotten nothing back. For some reason, the FBI has gone radio silent on me, and we have had ongoing discussions because we've tried to be helpful over the many months now that this has been going on. But they've ghosted me, and I don't know what that's about. But I've kind of not talked about it, but at some point, I just want to put...
Let me go back.
And if he scams us,
right,
he scams us. But I just had this real feeling that it might be real. But we didn't want to interfere with the investigation. So the contact I had at the FBI said, look, that's interesting. Let us get back to you. And I talked to him a few days later, and he said, well, it's something they're looking into. And I thought, okay, fine. And then a week passed, and I called back and left a message, and usually my messages were responsive, where they would call back, and I got nothing back. And I've called a half a dozen times since over the last couple of weeks, and I've gotten nothing back. For some reason, the FBI has gone radio silent on me, and
not
we
surprising,
have had
Harvey.
ongoing
Not
discussions because
all.
we've tried to be helpful over the many months now that this has been going on. But they've ghosted me, and I don't know what that's about. But I've kind of not talked about it. But at some point,
you can tell he feels
I just
kind
want
of
to
bad
put it
about
out there that, you know, this felt like maybe we could do some good.
Poor Harvey.
And for some reason, the FBI has gone radio silent. I don't understand it. I'm not suggesting that the FBI is doing anything.
Well, it might be sort of interesting. Maybe the FBI is actually on the right path. They've already know what they're doing. They have the target in sight, and they just don't need any help at all from Harvey at this point. I mean, could be good news, right? Could be good news. Yeah, I just said that while Bill lost me. We always say the same thing. Like, I say something and he types it in at the same time. Let's see. Waited as long as he could. Yeah. I think that, you know, that might be that what they have is like, you know, perhaps some sort of, you know, they don't need him now for anything. And so he's saying all this stuff, but they've already kind of like know where they're looking. I hope that's the truth. That'd be awesome. Hey, thanks, South Texas guy and Karen. Hey, we got a gifted membership. Very cool. Who got that one? Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking when he said that. And thanks, NM91324. You got one what? Oh, you got one. Oh, boy. Cindy stole one, you guys. I'm just kidding. All right, let's play this.
Wrong, because they've really tried to solve this. But it's just curious to me that this one guy who has sent us, I think, around a dozen emails, it's just somebody that I felt knew something. But for whatever reason, this is all kind of
I bet you there's people that's all they do every day is work on this case.
evaporated into thin air.
Yeah, I think the FBI, there's probably people at the FBI that are dedicated to it, and then people in the Tucson, probably, I don't know, police department and the sheriff's department. I don't know if it's just the sheriff's department. I don't know. Yeah, he got a ton of emails from the one guy that he wanted 100,000. And remember he switched it to like 50 or something at some point? Something like that. I bet Lisa's Valenzuela was out there trying to find that one clip. All right. So we have that one. And then we also have, thank you, horse teeth, cow teeth. All right. Then we have this one here from Brian Enton.
The fact that nobody said that indicates to me that...
Okay, I'm going to go back. So he did a...
Subscribe to the channel.
I just had that one earlier, and then Jason Bourne sent me this one because it just came out like 3 hours ago by Brian Enton. So it's just him walking around, but the audio is really all that matters. You know, there's nothing shown or there's no maps or anything. So we'll just listen to that. All right, let's see what's said. He talks about the ransom notes as well.
Some new developments in the Nancy Guthrie case. This is new information that I'm going to share with you guys that I just received a little while ago from a source very close to the investigation that has to do with the ransom notes, the second ransom note in particular. Remember the ones that went to the local TV stations in Tucson, Arizona. And I want to read you this exactly because I wrote down exactly what I was able to get from my source. I am told that the second ransom note in the Nancy Guthrie case said that she died and that she was, quote, buried with nature now.
And so, you know, that's interesting, isn't it? You know, like she died. The second ransom note says she died and she's with nature now, which matches. So, you know, I mean, in some way, the information lately, those two, the tips that came in saying that she's buried near the border, and we didn't have any of this information then, you know. So let's listen to this again. Like it's, I think it's this one right here. Here we go. So just listen to what he just said. Play that again.
She died and that she was, quote, buried with nature now. And again, this is according to a source close to the investigation.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
And see, this is exactly what I was saying. A long time ago, I said, I mean, you know, you guys were watching the shows. I told you exactly what she was referring to, that she got a message and she knew that her mother was not alive anymore based on that message. Okay, but people go, I don't agree, Gray. I think she was really just... And it's so obvious. Just listen to the damn thing. She said, let's start over again. And you go, well, just watch each line, watch.
We received your message and we understand.
Just fill in the sentence. We received your message and we understand that our mother is not alive anymore.
We beg you now to return our mother to us
We beg you now to return her body to us.
so that we can celebrate with her.
So that we can celebrate with her body here.
This is the only way we will have peace.
And it's the only way that we'll have peace, is to actually have her body back so we can bury our mother.
This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
And it's so valuable to us to have our mother's body back that we'll actually pay you just to tell us where she is. This is exactly what I told you guys. Literally back on February 7th when this was put out, 8 days after she was abducted. All right? And now it's all being proven. So that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. If you watch this channel, you'll actually be on the right track way more often than some of the other places I see some of you guys over at. Okay? They don't do that. They don't use logic, reason, common sense. They don't put the pieces together. They just blab on and on and on. New theory there, blah, blah, blah. Whatever is sensationalistic and interesting each day. I'm just telling you that so far, just look at both cases even. Like the Elena's case, this one, it's all the same thing, just using logic, reason, and common sense. I know it's not as entertaining and cool because I don't sit there and entertain absolute garbage. But if that's what you want in true crime, this isn't going to be the place for you. If you want just absolute sensationalism BS, this is not the place for you. I wish it was. All right, here we go. So let's listen to it one more time.
We received your message and we understand.
Right, and see, this is the second message, right? Because they already received the first one when she spoke on the 4th. So on February 4th, they spoke, and that message mentioned how she's still alive, etc., etc., etc. This one says how she is, they know that she's not alive, and this is that second one. So I don't know if Harvey has this one or not. All right, let's just play this. Keep going over here now with Brian Enton.
The note indicated that Nancy's death was not intentional, but did not offer a direct apology. So remember, there was the first ransom note that went to the local TV station that was described as a ransom note.
Yeah, I thought the first one went to the local TV station also.
Then there was this second ransom note, which is what I'm talking about right now, which you'll remember we had the news director from that TV station on News Nation who said, well, I wouldn't categorize the second ransom note as a ransom note. She said the first ransom note she would categorize as a ransom note, but she would not call.
So what did Harvey actually get then? So it makes you sort of wonder, did Harvey ever even get one of the original? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of strange now if you think about it. Did he always just get the one from the other guy? And just the timing of it seemed like it was. Who the hell knows? And then, you know what? Then that would make the nut job theory better because, or I guess you could, not better. It would make it so that the ransom for that went wrong theory more plausible. Because then there's no TMZ communication that it was really, they tried and then she passed away and then they just weren't able to prove life at that point. See what I'm saying? It's pretty interesting. Hey, thanks, Wild Bill Wassman and Karen.
The second note, a ransom note. And this explains why now. Again, I'm going to read it to you again. According to my source, the second ransom note...
I know that he said he got the first one with the... why do you keep repeating that? I know he said he got the first one along with the news station. But how do we know that? Maybe he got the one, I mean, it seems like the timing of some of the stuff he said was then. But the second one, he says he got it too, and he wouldn't categorize it as an apology. He said that it said that she's not alive. I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess, and you know what? I don't really care that much. Let's think about it like that. Like, what difference does it make, you know? Hey, body blow biscuit butter. Hey, another one like horse teeth, cow teeth, body blow biscuit butter. Hey, we can do a rap with that. Horse teeth, cow teeth, body blow biscuit. Man, say body blow biscuit butter 4 times fast, man. You can't do it. I can too, great. Body blow biscuit butter. Wow, body blow biscuit. Oh, man, that's crazy. Bloody. Then I want to say bloody blow. Oh, man. Saw a ridiculous new theory last night about a park 5 miles away. Yeah, we went over that last night on the show. On another YouTube channel. They really acted like they found some groundbreaking new info. It was a whole lot of nothing. Hey! That's right. Isn't that amazing? We talked about that all last night's show, okay? We talked about that all last night. I agree with you. So last night, another YouTuber, they claimed that there was, I'm not even sure, I had it marked off last night. I don't know if I still have it, but it was like 5 miles away down here near where Annie worked. There's this park, and they claim, is that right there? Yeah, that just happens to be it. So here's this park right here, and I guess Annie works there, and then there's this used car dealership here. So why not make up a whole story combining the fact that Annie works there, there's homeless people here, and then a used car dealership where one of these homeless people could have then borrowed the car, a different car each time he went over scouting the place. It's insane, okay? That's all I can tell you. All right, here we go. Let's keep playing this one. But thank you. Did anybody do it? Did anybody say body blow biscuit butter? No, it was yesterday, body blow biscuit butter. Not today. If you came at the end of the show, you might have missed it. But it was the whole first part. You'll probably like it. You know, and did you see the part where they basically repeated every single thing that I've said on the show where I said... so when you look at the map over here, there's all of these cameras over here. And the streets are so complex. We've gone over this many times. And in the darkness, this person would have to know the area really well and had been there, probably lives in the area, etc. We've said that literally 1,000 times on this show for the last months and months and months. And all of a sudden, that's new information that's being peddled to thousands and thousands of people. It's amazing. All right, so here we go. Let me keep playing this.
The Nancy Guthrie case said she died and was buried with nature now, and that the death was not intentional, but did not offer a direct apology. There's been some other reporting.
Yeah, so that matches the ransom gone wrong theory, right? It shows that there was they took her to get a ransom and she died accidentally. This is absolutely the very first theory that I had. The nut job theory is a different one, but the first theory is that the ransom gone wrong and she died accidentally. And they maybe made an effort to try to get some money, and then didn't want to continue because now there's a murder charge. She died in the commission of a felony. So that means it would be a murder charge. They could get the death penalty. And so then they're just like washing their hands of it. Interestingly, it's sort of odd, though, that they would send the second one knowing that they're not going to get a ransom. I mean, I guess we have to listen to this. Maybe there's more information. Why did you send the second one? She died, bury her somewhere, move on to something else.
Said, well, I wouldn't categorize the second ransom note as a ransom note. She said the first ransom note she would categorize as a ransom note, but she would not call the second note.
Yeah, they kept saying that. But that's something we derived over here. It's sort of like, I'm talking about body blow biscuit butter. They kept saying that they had to know their way around. Right. Because it's in the dark. But it's weird how they just now figured that out over there. It's like, wow, really? You don't need to drive there to see this stuff, man. You can go down to Street View. You can see that you can't, the houses are all back back away from the street. That's why there's no surveillance footage. But then the roads are really convoluted over there. So to be able to get in and out quickly, it just isn't something easy to do if you didn't know the area. Yeah, he's late on a lot of stuff. Because we did a whole show on Annie's map, if you remember. So we did a show on Annie's map and its relationship to... What the hell happened there? It showed its relationship to this these cameras here, and it was amazing. It goes right through where it doesn't touch any of them. It's crazy. Here, let me... Why do they keep doing this? All right. Just got to go up a little bit here. Okay, I'm turning it all on. Look at that, crazy. Look at all this stuff. This is all the stuff we've done on this one. It's crazy. So there's Annie's map. Let me get rid of this one. If I turn all those off, what happens? Okay. Turn that one off. This one. Not that one. That's a good one. None of this. Yeah, those things take up a lot. But I have so much stuff in here. It's crazy. So hold on a second. You might think this is interesting. Hey, thanks, Allie Cake and Joel Burnt. What do we got? Somebody said, look at over there. I didn't see it. Oh, Karen's going to do a 10. That's cool. Thank you. God, my stomach's just... All right. I need to put these in a different folder. This is wild. Look at this. So where's this located? This thing. I see it. Wait, there's a whole bunch more right up here. Oh yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'm gonna get rid of that. That wasn't really useful. It's too hard to tell what you're looking at. Yeah, so we did this on this show. See, this is Annie's route, the red on the screen there. Can you see that? It's kind of, yeah, I don't know if I make it a little bit wider, maybe that would work. Let's see. Maybe make that like 10. There you go. How about that? That's better. So you have this route here. This is Annie's route, and these are all the cameras. See that? They go all the way around. And then when Annie put this route out there that, if people have cameras in this area, isn't it amazing that, and by the way, it came out right on one of the blue pin there. See the red ones that are going around? Those are really unlikely. The blue were likely routes that the person would exit, and it happens to show up in Annie's route. Then came up here, drove around, but look how it avoids all the cameras the whole time. It goes all the way across, all the way over to here. Even there avoids the camera at that intersection. Don't you think that's interesting? And guess what show that showed up on? Right after we talked about it. Yeah. Well, not right after. We had talked about it for a month and a half, and then all of a sudden somebody else goes, ooh, look where Annie's route is compared to where the cameras are. Oh, wow. Great thought process there. Amazing. I know, I'm a cynic. All right. Hey, thanks, Wild Bill Wassman. Here we go. Let's go back to this interview.
That was described as a ransom note. Then there was this second ransom note, which is what I'm talking about right now, which you'll remember we had the news director from that TV station on News Nation, who said, well, I wouldn't categorize the second ransom note as a ransom note. She said the first ransom note she would categorize as a ransom note, but she would not call the second note a ransom note. And this explains why now. Again, I'm going to read it to you again. According to my source, the second ransom note in the Nancy Guthrie case said she died and was buried with nature now, and that the death was not intentional, but did not offer a direct apology. There's been some other reporting today from other people saying that it was an apology. I am told it was not a direct apology, but that it did indicate that the death was not intentional. Again, this is the second ransom note. Remember, we don't know whether any of these ransom notes are real. Savannah Guthrie has said in the past that she believes that the ransom notes, or at least some of them, are real. And it's interesting. I want to play for you the video that Savannah released on Instagram right after this second ransom note arrived. This one that I am now reporting said that Nancy Guthrie died and was buried with nature now. And it kind of makes sense when you now go back and watch what Savannah said on Instagram after receiving that note. Take a look at this.
See how he says, now it kind of makes sense now. What do you mean, man? I've been saying this since the beginning. That's why I don't understand. Just like the other day when he said, hey, we think it's possible now that when the camera was removed, it was because the car was going to be parked out there. And I've been saying that since the moment the surveillance footage was released. Every night on this show, over and over and over again. So he's going to be playing this video, the one I just showed you. Okay, it's not. He's like, it sort of does. No, it doesn't sort of anything. That's exactly what they're responding to. All right. Do you guys see why I get frustrated a little bit? I mean, if you're on this show and you see this stuff, you just go, yeah, we've talked about this for months. It's crazy.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
It's just so heartbreaking as more of these sort of puzzle pieces come together. You remember that video, you think back to what Savannah Guthrie was going through, and sort of put into perspective now the fact that I can report that that second ransom note did say that Nancy Guthrie died and that she was with nature now. Let me make sure I get that quote right, that she was buried with nature now. So that's my latest reporting on the notes. That's what I've been able to confirm. I know there's been a lot of other reporting out there today, and I don't know what's true and what's not, but that is something that I can verify myself, that I've confirmed with my source close to the investigation, who I trust, and you guys know how seriously I take information that I put out. So I talked with my buddy, retired FBI agent Steve Moore, about the latest with the notes. You know, he's still skeptical about whether all of these notes are even real. And by the way, TMZ has been reporting that the notes that they received did not say that Nancy Guthrie died. Now, I don't believe they received the same notes.
He sort of said
that went to the local TV stations, but it's sort of hard to, sorry, there's a big truck going by. Hard to pin down what note is what. But I want to play for you my conversation with Steve Moore. All right, Steve, how you doing? Nice to see you. Thank you for hopping on with me kind of at the last second. And everybody knows Steve by now who watches my show. If anybody's wondering what happened,
Isn't that weird that I had this little this red outline, and that's right where the exit points were, but that was from early on, that thing. You know, that's where I thought maybe the person came from in that. But then now I have the red dots down there too, so maybe I'll extend it just right down like this. You know,
you have like a power saw. You have like a little.
I don't know. What do you guys think? It is frustrating, you know. Don't you think? Like, even if you're you guys, isn't it frustrating? Like, you guys are sitting here, you're watching the show. We've been going over it. We go over it really Like, again, using logic, reason, and common sense, factual information, trying to figure stuff out. And we've been saying the same stuff for months and consistently. It hasn't changed. And then these people bring it out and get thousands and thousands of views, and people pretend it's all brand new and exciting new stuff. It's just it's weird, you know, absolutely weird.
Injury here, but was it a power?
Yeah,
saw?
I was cutting up some wood in the back.
I mean, I was the thing that made me the most, I guess, surprised again was what I just told you a minute ago. Is I've been telling people that the only reason that the camera was removed at the front door was because a car was going to be parked right there for Nancy Guthrie to be put in. Okay, that's what I've said, and I've said it consistently, literally since within a day or so of the surveillance footage coming out, because it just makes sense. And you look at him and you see that he's not nervous about the camera filming him whatsoever at all. So you'd think, well, you know, he's got the balaclava on, he's got the backpack, he's wearing clothes that nobody else has ever seen him wear before. It's all brand new. So why would he give a damn if that camera's on or not? Even if he's taking Nancy out, you know, she's not there, so they know that she was abducted. So what difference would it make? Okay, and the reason is because he parked right there. That's how, and you know that because the blood is out the front door, the expirated blood. Again, the first channel to mention that it was expirated blood. That means she coughed it up right there, and then there's continual blood drops. That was where Enton said it stopped right at the door, which was incorrect. It actually continued down the driveway to the top of the stairs there. And that shows you that it's leading towards likely a vehicle that's right there. So that would be the reason that you remove the camera, right? I mean, that's it. And then about, you know, after we've been saying that for 4 months, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, Enton comes up and goes, oh, yeah, man. It could be that they took off that camera because a car was going to be parked there. Really interesting stuff. You know, this is breaking. It's so frustrating, man. I mean, you know, watch my show. You would have known that months ago, and it makes sense. I'm sorry they don't have like a badge or some shit like that to pretend that somehow you can think better.
Backyard, and somehow I hit something in the wood, and it just popped and got me in the nose and got me right here, but missed the eye. So all in all, it's a win-win.
Well, thank goodness, yeah, and it's barely even noticeable. So hopefully you'll be healed up quickly. I wanted to ask you about these new revelations, or maybe incorrect revelations, coming out about the ransom notes. There's this writer Howard Bloom who has characterized one of the ransom notes.
Howard Bloom is writing about this. I mean, the guy that butchered the Idaho 4 case. This guy's that guy's a lunatic.
In the Guthrie case.
In my opinion, of course. I don't know. It's this guy right here. I don't know who he is. Don't know him.
As an apology. Now,
Hey, we got Body Blow Biscuit Butter. Thanks again for providing factual information. There really is no other channel doing the same. So useless experts or dumb. Yeah, I know. It's weird. Like, I wish that I had a badge or something, because I would be smoking these people. I mean, it's unbelievable. I could say, yes, I was a former detective, and oh my God, look how accurate this guy is. But it isn't going to be that, because I don't have that. I did make animations for court for a prosecutor in New York. So I do have that, but that doesn't mean anything. It's just I made an animation. Right.
I've been careful never to say that. What are you sort of reading in between the lines here? I mean, how are you making sense of this?
Well, I'm taking everything that that we get post note, the reactions of the Guthrie
truck going
I'll go back and see if I can get the guy's name. Hold on.
by. Hard to pin down what note is what, but I want to play for you my conversation with Steve Moore.
Steve Moore. Okay.
publicly
There you go,
saying,
Cindy. Steve Moore.
yes, we're relieved to see this, and please tell her that we love her, and all this kind of stuff. Nothing in the responses convinced me in any way, shape, or form that either they had proof of life, or that the kidnappers or the criminals who had her or alleged to have had her had any kind of conciliatory tone in their message. I didn't pick anything like that up, because a conciliatory message in one of these notes leads to a huge amount of relief and some trust built up between the horrible people who took the person and the people who want that person back. And it's kind of like the Stockholm syndrome. If they treat you well.
What was that? Karen said, I will send 25 in PayPal for the dogs, of course, or something equal in value. All right. Well, if you guys do the 25, she'll match it, you guys. If so, that means if 5 people do 5 memberships, she'll match it. All right. That'd be awesome.
In these notes and give hope. I mean, that a good kidnapper will be stern and in control, but give hope. These clowns did none of that.
They seemed to do it in the first one. They said that she's okay, and etc. And then the second one, they didn't give hope. I'm not even sure they wanted money in the second one. There wasn't even a ransom note, they said.
They destroyed hope and replaced it with false bravado, because I don't believe they had anything to trade by that point. So any kind of...
Well, it doesn't sound like the second one was vibrato. It was just saying, hey, she's been buried somewhere. It's not false anything. I don't understand what this guy's saying.
Information that there was an apology. I think that's going to be kind of a non-starter with me.
Would it be unusual for a kidnapper to apologize? I mean, has that ever happened before?
I have not heard a kidnapper apologize except pre-sentencing. I am not saying that it doesn't happen, because somebody takes a person and holds them for ransom. Sometimes they realize the grab.
They said that there wasn't an apology. I want to go back and listen to the beginning of this. I'm not really sure. Is the rest of this pretty interesting? Has anybody watched this? Oh, Wild Bill did too. Thanks, Wild Bill and Alley Cake. I want to listen to the beginning again. Hold on. Does anybody listen to that whole thing?
In the Nancy Guthrie case, this is new information that I'm going to share with you guys that I just received a little while ago from a source very close to the investigation that has to do with the ransom notes, the second ransom note in particular. Remember the ones that went to the local TV stations in Tucson, Arizona. And I want to read you this exactly, because I wrote down exactly what I was able to get from my source. I am told that the second ransom note in the Nancy Guthrie case said that she died and that she was, quote, buried with nature now. And again, this is according to a source close to the investigation. The note indicated...
I mean, that might be some sort of a clue. They're buried with nature now. Was that buried with nature? It's almost like normally you would say she's with nature now, but buried with nature. I don't know. It seems like that's kind of weird grammar or something. What do you guys think of that? Sounds like that's a direct quote. Buried with nature. What what does that mean? I mean, I know what it means, but I just want to see if it... Being buried with nature refers to a natural or green burial or eco-friendly practice where a body is returned to the earth naturally. It avoids embalming, chemical... well, I'm sure they weren't being that specific. I think they were just like, she's buried with... Usually people say something a little differently than that, I think.
That Nancy's death was not intentional, but did not offer a direct apology. So remember, there was the first ransom note that went to the local TV station that was described as a ransom note. Then there was this second ransom note, which is what I'm talking about right now, which you'll remember we had.
So why do you think they wrote the second one? What was the point of that? Just to say, hey, we're going to have no more further dealings with you. She's not alive. But why did you need to contact to say that? That almost has a feeling like they gave a shit. That they had or maybe it just gave them, there was more publicity around it, I guess. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Had the news director from that TV station on News Nation who said, well, I wouldn't categorize the second ransom note as a ransom note. She said the first ransom note she would categorize as a ransom note, but she would not call the second note a ransom note. And this explains why now. Again, I'm going to read it to you again. According to my source, the second ransom note in the Nancy Guthrie case said she died and was buried with nature now.
Buried with nature now. I don't know. That's kind of bad grammar. It's like they heard something and then sort of combined it with something else. She's with nature now is what you would say with the word now at the end. But like she's buried in nature now. It's just kind of... It's a little weird. Yeah. Well, it wouldn't make me quit looking. As soon as you found out that they were dead, that's when you'd want to keep looking for her. But yeah, I mean, that means it almost seems like the person cared about what Savannah and them were thinking. And that would make the ransom gone wrong theory. It like some of this stuff makes that theory more... It's adding points to that bucket, because you think to yourself, okay, these people abducted Nancy. And it makes the most sense. Like, it's probably the most likely, right? The one that made sense with all the data was a psycho killer, because then you would say, well, why'd you send it to TMZ? But now it sounds like TMZ didn't get that second one. And, so I get if they got the first one, though, that was a ransom note, but the second one wasn't a ransom note. But it's almost like they intended to get a ransom, but she died, and they sort of want you to know that, hey, they didn't try to, we didn't want to, we weren't trying to kill her, Kind of interesting, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, send a tweet.
And that...
I just think it's funny that they're now correlating something with that Savannah's second, family interview thing that she did. We've said that for so long, it's almost ridiculous.
People who want that person back. And it's kind of like the Stockholm syndrome. If they treat you well in these notes and give hope, I mean, that a good kidnapper will be stern and in control, but give hope.
Hey, thanks, Karen, for the PayPal and Marty's Bar and Grill. All right, thanks.
clowns did none of that. They destroyed hope and replaced it with false bravado because I don't believe they had anything to trade by that point. So any kind of information that there was an apology, I think that's going to be kind of a non-starter with me.
Would it be unusual for a kidnapper to apologize? I mean, has that ever happened before?
I have not heard a kidnapper apologizing.
Well, we said that earlier in the show, that it does seem like it matches up a little bit with the burial tip that came more recently. I mean, it does. At the beginning of the show, I said it makes that seem a little bit more interesting, that there was these tips that say that she was buried, which is, well, but here's the thing. I mean, if she's not alive, does anybody think she's in somebody's refrigerator somewhere? She's buried somewhere, all right? So it's not like, and she's buried outside, and likely where there aren't a lot of people. So if she's not alive, she's buried somewhere outside where there's not a lot of people. So I guess it's like anybody could say anything, and it would sound like it matched what this guy just said. So I guess, when you look at it like that, it does match the tips that have come in, but she is buried somewhere out in nature somewhere, right? I mean, that's just how you got to look at it. Was she cremated? What?
Except pre-sentencing. I am not saying that it doesn't happen because somebody takes a person and holds them for ransom. Sometimes they realize the gravity of what they've done, and they still don't want to get caught, but they certainly don't want to hurt the person. And sometimes they negligently or in a fit of rage do hurt the person, and remorse shows up. But again, these are not, I mean, technically they're professional kidnappers, but they're first timers.
So an apology would be unusual.
I would say an apology would be extremely unusual.
But they didn't apologize. So what's the point? I don't really understand that part. Where'd that come from? You didn't just send one in, did you, Alley Kick? That was weird.
And anything like that puts a different take on the kidnapper itself.
So with my busy travel and work...
Yeah, we've all said that, Cindy. I've said since the beginning that she's buried somewhere out in the desert somewhere. After she didn't make it, they cut ties, and they just said, okay, we got to bury her body somewhere and do not contact ever again, because they might be able to track us, but now it's a homicide instead of just a kidnapping. They were probably willing to accept, like, you'd probably get a 10 to 25 years sentence if it was just a kidnapping and there was no harm done, but you were trying to get money. Once she died, you could get the death penalty. All right, so we've been saying that for a long time. Yeah, I think it was just late, Alley Kick, the streamlabs that has the little thing that kicks up on the screen. Sometimes it misses them. Oh my God, you believe these people are real events? They are make-believe characters, psychological operations to create... you're a lunatic, okay? You're... What else? You're a lunatic. Oh my God. See what I'm talking about? Those people exist. That type stuff like that. They exist. You know? But hey, you guys, I haven't really asked much tonight, but if you guys have the ability to help support the channel, it'd be great to, keep the month going. I'd appreciate any support you could give. We've got, channel memberships and the super chats, etc. All right. God, can you believe that? I think those are just trolls. Like, look up the date on that. I have critical thinking skills. In your Barbie class? I don't think so. Okay. I don't think so. You have 0 critical thinking skills. I think this is just a troll right here. Like, look up the date on that account. I bet it's right, like, yesterday.
What you're looking for, I mean, we've got behavioral scientists writing or taking down every single thing that's said, whether the person misspells this letter or that letter, whether their lines go up or down.
Wow, an old account. Man, so there's been 6 years of idiocy on YouTube? Wow.
If it's a handwritten note or something like that, they go through.
My dogs are being filmed because people on the show like to watch the dogs, and if we don't put them in a place like that, you can't really film them because I'm doing my show. Okay, and they play all day outside, running around, pissing on it, outside, pissing, running around. We let them inside, and in the evening, you call their names, they run over there, they want to get back in there and rest and go in their little caves, okay? So for all of you dipshits who keep typing in, "Gosh, Gray, why are your dogs in a cage?" Go F yourselves, okay? They do just fine. They are happy dogs. All right, so screw you. All right, let's keep playing.
Through all these things and start to create a psychological profile, much the same as a psychiatrist meeting with a patient is going to try to figure out what they're dealing with. And if you had somebody who was suddenly showing remorse or a conciliatory tone, that would have changed the FBI's view of the whole.
Because people like to watch the dogs, Brian. Are you that stupid? Why are you typing that in? Just get out of here, man. I don't have time for you. All right? I just don't have time. See you later. See you. Go somewhere else. You know what's even more sad? Moody Bug is you. You're a troll from a troll community. Get lost.
Negotiation, if there was a negotiation.
After the one note, Steve, that was described to me as not a ransom note, Savannah Guthrie made another video message, and you might remember it. It's when she said, "We received your message and understand," and she sounded kind of like sympathetic a little bit.
Yeah, now that you realize that, wow, weird, huh?
When she said that, "We received your message and understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so we can celebrate with her. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay."
Yeah.
Again, TMZ is saying that there was never an acknowledgement that Nancy Guthrie was dead in the notes, but that when Savannah said that, it did make me wonder what was in the note to me.
No, but they did say that. They did say that. Different wording, but
make her say that.
And it's, one day when we get to see that note, when it's public in court or something like that, we'll understand completely and say, "Oh, yeah, I get that." But I think something doesn't have to be said verbatim in a kidnapping note for it to be obvious either to the victims themselves, the victim family themselves, or the FBI. The FBI's seen a bunch of ransom notes. They've seen all the ransom notes, and they can, through their institutional knowledge, even call in people like you're asking me questions about what does it say to you at this point? Have you had anybody make a conciliatory or an apologetic message? The FBI has all these things filed out with different kidnapping situations. And you can call an office, you can call Cleveland, for instance, hypothetically, and say, "Hey, let us talk to the agent who had the..."
I think that TMZ, it is kind of weird, right? Like, do you think TMZ, what did Jason get? He said, "Got my first one finally." Your membership? You don't seem I guess I can't tell if you're a moderator. It doesn't show if you're a member or not, I don't think. Or maybe it does. Yeah, you're supposed to have that little thing next to it. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Let's see, up above. Yeah, it's been so long. We haven't had any. I don't see it. Okay, well, what's the thing that he said he got? I don't know what you guys are saying. Jason said he got my first one. First one what? And the girl I just sent you, Grayson. Oh. Oh, you mean you bagged a troll. Good job. Good job. Good job. All right. I thought you were saying you got your first membership. Yeah, well, hey, there's a Brian that was just in here. I know that you believe that you're still typing and people are reading your comments, but you've been removed permanently from the channel, okay? So you can type all day long, and nobody's ever going to see them again, all right? You just think they can because you can type. You're still allowed to type, even if you're blocked on a channel. Nobody can see your comments, however.
A conciliatory kidnapper who felt very guilty and bad. We want to see how you worked with them. So the FBI has all these possibilities. And so nothing's going to ultimately be too big a surprise. Excuse me. So I think whatever was in that note convinced either the FBI or the Guthrie family that they were no longer, regardless of what the note said, in a situation where they were playing for the return of a live, unharmed victim.
And she said, "We will pay" at the end of that message. Why do you think they didn't pay?
There could be a bunch of reasons. That said, I'm going to tell you what I suspect. If I was running the kidnapping, and I did, they probably wouldn't want to put me in charge of a kidnapping. But if I was running it, one thing I would not do is voluntarily or at least eagerly advocate for paying ransom when no proof of life has been given. It is just, number one, it goes beyond the kidnapping you're working now. It's kind of like giving in to terrorists. Terrorists say, we've got these hostages. We want our prisoners released. Well, if that works, you're going to get more hostages taken. And so you don't want to set a precedent. In kidnapping, if you pay without proof of life, you might potentially not lodge. I think it's a very bad indicator that you would get the person alive if they're not willing to provide proof of life. That's number one. But number two, down the line, people who you don't even know and who don't know that they will ever have to deal with the FBI as family victims of a kidnapper, you've just reduced their chances of getting their person back alive. Because at that point, all you have to do is take the person out of the house, kill them, bury them.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't pay. They only paid $1, like $152, apparently. I made it so you could see the dogs even better. All right, trolls? There you go. I'm not sure what Clancy's doing there, but it's like they're growling at each other. All right, any chance we can get another challenge going, you guys, or something? We got to get right now we're only about 50%. See if we can get a challenge going or something. We've had a massive lull in here. I don't see. Did you send me an email, Cindy? I didn't get anything from you, Cindy. So I don't know what you're referring to. You said you sent me something, and you didn't send me anything. Thanks, Wild Bill Wassman. Where'd you send it, Cindy? This is what I don't like, is when we get time wasted. Hey, Gray, check out, I sent you something. And I looked both in my email and on Facebook, and I don't have anything. Okay? So, I'm not sure what you want me to do. Yeah, you didn't send it to me on Twitter either, so... Hello? Jesus. It's unreal.
And get the money and run.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I wouldn't have paid.
Yeah, it's interesting when you say the sort of the rationale for the FBI not wanting to pay, and it makes sense,
Yeah, but how does
especially
it
with your
hurt?
analogy about like terrorists. Then you just encourage it in the future. Oh, people will pay for ransoms, but I think it's different when you're the person whose mom it is. At least I'm just putting myself in Savannah's shoes.
No, and
If
you're
I
absolutely
especially
right.
if I had a lot of money. I mean, if I had like, I don't know how much money Savannah Guthrie has, but if I had like, 40, $50 million and it was my mom, I might be saying to the FBI, I hear what you're saying, but like, I just want to pay the $4 million.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you, Brian, because number one, it's not the FBI's decision. And it shouldn't be the FBI's decision. And as much as it's just another, and trust me, it's never treated this way, but just because it can be perceived as just another in a string of FBI kidnappings, it is the only one. God forbid that it shouldn't be, that this family will ever go through. This is their one shot. And if the FBI loses, they lose a case. They lose a chance to get somebody back, and they lose a chance to prosecute somebody. In this case, if they lose their mother forever.
All right, so let's do the... this is what Cindy was sending. Oh, yeah, I've seen her.
Saying this afternoon about the second Nancy Guthrie ransom note. Some media confirming that it said Nancy died and that she was buried in nature. I'm Brianna Whitney, Crime Junkie's breaking news reporter, and I have spent months and months covering the Nancy Guthrie case, boots on the ground. And in my former role, before I came to Crime Junkie, I was made aware of what these ransom notes said as I was reporting on the case. I've seen them with my own eyes, so I want to actually provide more context
YouTube?
as to what that second note said. The way that this note was written, it's written as we. Like, we didn't know this, as if it was some sort of team or whoever was involved in this. It said, we did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical condition. It went on to say that they never intended to hurt her during all of this. They continued and said she perished shortly after she was taken. They believe that it was heart-related. And then what the reports were confirming earlier today, that she was buried with nature. And maybe the most important part of the second ransom...
That's exactly what I said early on. I said she probably died, just the stress of the situation because of her heart issues. She passed away, and these people just wanted to, whoever did it wanted to... I mean, I think it was just one person, but we've said that if there is a second person, they could have been somebody driving the vehicle. But she, died, and then they had no way to, there's no leverage for a ransom at that point.
Note, it said, nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome.
Why not just show us the damn letter instead of quoting everything? I mean, doesn't that just make you angry?
Related, and then what the reports were confirming earlier today, that she was buried with nature. And maybe the most important part of the second ransom note, it said, nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. We are truly sorry. So that's what I know from my reporting on this case. And that second note came in the first week of
Okay, well, that one says that they did say that they're sorry. In that one. See? That one mentions an apology. Brian Enton said that there was no apology, but now this person's saying that there was one. Right, so I don't really understand it, you know. Like, it's weird, too, that all these people are saying this stuff today. It's almost like, oh, somebody broke information that shouldn't have been released, so now we can all do it, so let's add a little bit more, and then we can, you know, something like that. All right, you guys, any chance you guys could help support the channel tonight? Like we try to do on the show, we try to raise funds every single night to help support the channel. And, you know, at the end of each month, we donate thousands of dollars. Now, maybe coming up in the future here, I'm just not going I'm not going to be able to do that. You know, if you want to support my channel, you can support my channel, and I'll try to donate when I can, but I am just at a point where it's just so hard every single night. It's frustrating for me. You know, it's like every night, you know, I could be doing show hours and hours and hours, and people support the channel, but then all of a sudden nobody supports the channel for like an hour. And then it's just sort of like, what am I doing now? You know, what's happening? What happened this time? You know? So I don't know. I'm not sure what to do about that.
Ever.
I mean, because we've only budged $5 in over an hour at this point. It's pretty wild.
So you cannot, as an FBI agent, go in there and say, "This is what we're going to do." God, no, you can't do that. But you can sit down and you can have the conversation with the family and say, "This is where hard conversations come." It's kind of like when, you know, you go to the doctor and they say, "The tests are back. Are you sitting down?" You know, this is when you go in and you sit and you're dealing with people who hurt and weep and sob. So it never isn't important to the agent who's with them. But this is where you say they haven't provided proof of life. There's no logic.
Yeah, maybe there is no apology, but she says that.
For
again, now, why not just release the damn letter at this point?
Them not to provide proof of life. There's nothing by proof of life that would make us more or less able to find out where they are. You can do proof of life.
Wild Bill Wasserman's trying for a wave attempt, you guys. We're at the point now where nobody's typing anymore, and that's just kind of. And I mean, if you guys aren't interested in this, I can switch topics.
Fairly easy without a background in this kind.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch topics. Yeah, I don't. You know, if there's something interesting in there, let me know. But I'm like hidden behind my mic. Yes, I can still hear a voice in the background. It's like a radio voice on this thing. All right, how about we do this press conference right here. I mean, it's not a press conference, it's a court hearing. And I think it's only, let's see, when do they start typing? Hold on. Yeah, so it's only like it's 40 minutes long, but this is the press conference from today in Charlie Kirk. Do you guys want to watch that? It's not a press conference. I mean, a hearing they had. I'm not sure why I said press conference. If you guys want to watch it, and then after that, there's some Barry Morphew stuff we could look at. I know you're always down for more Guthrie, but we're going to do something else. More Guthrie. I don't have anything else to say. I mean, every single thing that these people are talking about right now, we've talked about for months and literally said every single thing. So for me, it's just me repeating myself again and again and again and again and again. It's weird.
Calling case number 251-403-576, State of Utah versus Tyler James.
I think this is about the Twigs and his the hearsay issue.
Robinson. Counsel, please enter your appearances.
Good morning, Judge. Chad Grunander, Ryan McBride, Jeff Gray, and Chris Ballard for the state.
Hey, how's it
Good
going?
morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. Kathy Nestor, Stacy Visser, Michael Burt here on behalf of Mr. Robinson, and if maybe we...
What do you mean? Good show so far. I hope to make it back for the... This is alive. This is live right now, Deanna. I'll hope it make it back for the live. If not, I'll catch the rerun. They are doing the verdict for the boat crash trial. I don't know anything about the boat crash trial.
We could just check and make sure he can hear us.
Mr. Robinson, can you hear us? All right. Good morning to you all. All right. I apologize for the slight delay. There was a couple of last minute things I needed to do as it relates to this case. So I appreciate your patience. I know your time's important, and the court respects that.
Okay, cool.
And before we begin, counsel for the state, could you provide a brief status update regarding discovery?
Yes, Judge, I'll ask Ryan McBride to do that for the state.
We just, I think it was just late last week, we provided 12 additional files. I think that's a duplicate share. That was reports from the ATF labs. That brings our total back up to approximately 100% of what we have has been shared.
Oh, wait. You know what? I can make this faster, though. So hold on. Let's see. Let me try to... If I do... Let's see what he sounds like. Hold on.
All right. Thank you.
So we know what the judge sounds like. So let's do, if I do speed and duration, make this like 100, 130, that doesn't work. 130, no. 130%. So now it's only 30 minutes long. And then speed, let's get the judges talking at the beginning, right? Just listen to what it sounds like.
Calling case number 251.
All right, then you go over here to pitch shifter. And then right over here, you go to edit this thing. So while it's playing, you can kind of...
1-403-576, State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Counsel, please enter your appearances.
Good morning, Judge. Chad Grunander.
Listen to him again. I think it's close.
Counsel, please enter your appearances.
That's what he sounds
Good morning, Judge.
Right? Doesn't that sound like him?
576, State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Counsel, please enter your...
I think that's about right, right? One more time.
Good morning. Court is now in session.
That's perfect. Okay, so here we go. All right, here we go.
Calling case number 251-403-576, State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Counsel, please enter your appearances.
Good morning, Judge. Chad Grunander, Ryan McBride, Jeff Gray, and Chris Ballard for the state.
Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. Kathy Nestor, Stacy Visser, Michael Burt here on behalf of Mr. Robinson, and if maybe we could just check and make sure he can hear us.
Mr. Robinson, can you hear us? All right. Good morning to you all. All right, I apologize for the slight delay. There was a couple of last minute things I needed to do as it relates to this case. So I appreciate your patience. I know your time's important, and the court respects that. And before we begin, counsel for the state, could you provide a brief status update regarding discovery?
What's the boat case? Is that the one? Is that like The Murdoch one? I mean, it sounds almost identical to that.
Yes, Judge, I'll ask Ryan McBride to do that for the state.
We just, I think it was just late last week, we provided 12 additional files. I think that's a duplicate share. That was reports from the ATF labs. That brings our total back up to approximately 100% of what we have has been shared.
All right. Thank you. All right. And anything, does the defense need the benefit of the record as it relates to that issue?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Turning to defense's motion for order to show cause. The party submitted additional briefing on June 17th and June 18th, with the most recent filing being received at approximately 9:21 on June 18th. The court intends to consider all briefing and arguments submitted by the parties before rendering its decision in the interest of justice and to ensure the constitutional rights of all parties upheld. Because the most recent submissions were filed shortly before the anticipated ruling, the court requires additional time to complete its...
This lady reminds me of the attorney on Landman. Has been sent and receipt. I don't know what that means.
Thorough review. The court recognizes the importance of the issues presented and will issue its decision on a schedule that will be announced at the conclusion of today's proceedings on the remaining matters. And those remaining matters are the defendant's motion in limine to preclude the utilization of Article 1, Section 12 of the Utah Constitution and Rule 1102 of the Utah Rules of Evidence to sanction the admissibility of hearsay evidence to establish probable cause at the preliminary hearing and defendant's application for certification for attendance of an out-of-state witness and state's motion to quash subpoenas. And so the court will issue its ruling first on its motion in limine. And I'll be reading from the order that I intend to upload on the docket later today. In his motion in limine to preclude the utilization of Article 1, Section 12 of the Utah...
I think COVID changed a lot of stuff. Hey, that's kind of convenient. We can do this.
Constitution and Rule 1102 of the Utah Rules of Evidence, defendant Tyler James Robinson seeks an order preventing the state of Utah from relying on hearsay to establish probable cause.
Why aren't you watching them anymore, Cindy?
At his upcoming preliminary hearing. The motion was fully briefed. The court heard oral arguments on June 12, 2026. Now being fully advised of the premises and relevant legal authorities, the court hereby respectfully denies the defendant's motion for the reasons set forth below. In Utah, the primary purpose of the preliminary hearing is limited to determining whether probable cause exists. And counsel, as I have done in the past, I will omit the citations, and that will be in the full order that's uploaded. Although the preliminary hearing is a critical stage of the criminal process, it is not a trial and does not involve a determination of guilt or innocence. And let's see, I'm sorry.
I would think a criminal would rather have a grand jury than a preliminary, because preliminary hearings is out in the public where grand juries are sealed, and all that incriminating information doesn't make it out.
I lost my place. The court does not understand this principle to mean that constitutional protections are categorically inapplicable at a preliminary hearing, rather because a preliminary hearing serves the limited purposes of determining whether probable cause exists. The scope and operation of a particular constitutional protections must be evaluated.
Oh, what'd they do in the Carmelo Anthony trial? That thing was so obvious. They weren't like pro Carmelo, were they? Like, oh, he didn't do it. Was that what they were doing on court TV? Oh man, that's sick. But hey guys, any chance you guys could help support the channel tonight? We're still languishing right around about 50% of the nightly goal. So if you guys have the ability, that would be fantastic. We're getting close to the end of the month. We got 8 days left. 8 days, yeah.
In light of that purpose, accordingly, the court addresses defendant's constitutional arguments individually while recognizing that the procedural safeguards required at a probable cause determination need not mirror those required at trial. Defendant raises several constitutional objections to that conclusion. Defendant argues that permitting the state to establish probable cause through hearsay evidence violates his rights under the 4th, 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution, as well as separation of powers principles. Of the constitutional rights defendant seeks to fully invoke at the preliminary hearing, Utah courts have directly addressed the application of only one, the right to confrontation. The court recognizes that defendant's constitutional concerns are substantial and warrant careful consideration. Nevertheless, the court's analysis is guided by a limited function of the preliminary hearing and the governing...
Yeah, I've done. I don't. It's not a sham. Doctor's appointments like this. Sometimes you have just a doctor. You're just trying to kind of checking in. Seeing what your next course of action is. Like, they're not diagnosing anything. You're just kind of checking in with your doctor, and then you make an appointment for something. I think it's kind of, or let's say you took a test or you did a blood test or something, and you got all of your blood panels, and you do one of these, and they go over all of it with you. Why do you have to be sitting in front of them to talk about what was in your blood test? I don't think it's crappy at all. I think it's a hell of a time saver. Hey, look at that. We got a challenge in here by Marty's Bar and Grill, you guys. So if we can get 5 gifted memberships, apparently when I say it, it doesn't do anything, but we do have a challenge in here by Marty. He'll donate, what is it, $10 coffees worth if you guys do, 5 of you do 1. Yeah, like blood tests or... you're just going over another, like an x-ray or, any of those things. Yeah, like I've had many of these ones where, you go in for an MRI or something, and then you get on and they can show you the picture on there and they talk about it and they say, oh yeah, see right there, it looks like, I don't know why I need to book an appointment, drive somewhere, find a place to park, go up in there for them to say the same damn thing as they would if I'm sitting right in front of them. Yeah, they're not worth a damn. During COVID, it was kind of good, too, because you'd say, yeah, I took the test. I didn't, I have COVID. And they go, okay, great. We'll send a prescription over here. We'll send it to you. And then it's like, okay, you don't have to go to the doctor and do all that stuff. But hey, guys, are you guys going to do the challenge? We had a challenge in here by Marty, a generous one, to help support the channel. It's a good way to help it. Yeah, so it's good for that kind of stuff. I think it's stupid for, like, oh, my heart doesn't feel good, and then there's some guy, you got to go in for that kind of stuff. But, they're not bad just as sort of like as for screening, because maybe they go, hey, you need to go make an appointment. I'll call ahead or something, I don't know. It doesn't bother me that much. Hey, thanks, Katie's Corner and Wild Bill Wassman.
Precedent interpreted in Article 1, Section 12.
I think some are like that. I think sleep tests are a scam. It's kind of obvious if you're sleeping problems, then you probably do a CPAP. But those tests they have you do when you go stay overnight somewhere, what a joke. That is...
Davey Timmerman.
First of all, they put you on a bed that there isn't a human that could sleep on one of those.
The Utah Supreme Court determined that full application of a defendant's right to confrontation is necessary at trial, but not at the preliminary hearing. The Timmerman Court reached this conclusion after comparing the different purposes of the 2 proceedings.
Thank you, Marty's Bar and Grill. Okay, you guys, we need 3 more up there.
That court recognized under the amended language of Article 1, Section 12 of Utah's Constitution, a defendant at a preliminary hearing faces only a probable cause determination that is subject to a significantly lower burden of proof, whereas at trial, that same defendant faces a determination of his guilt or innocence that must be established beyond a reasonable doubt. Considering the distinction between the issues and the purposes of the 2 proceedings, the Timmerman Court believed a relaxed application of the defendant's constitutional right to confrontation at the preliminary hearing was entirely appropriate. Although Utah courts have not addressed what is the appropriate application of other constitutional rights at a preliminary hearing, this court follows the Timmerman Court's reasoning in concluding that a relaxed application of defendant's constitutional rights at the upcoming preliminary hearing is likewise appropriate because of the limited purpose of the proceeding. For example, defendant argues that permitting the state to rely on hearsay evidence, reliable hearsay evidence, deprives him of his Sixth Amendment right to effective counsel before it prevents his counsel from utilizing all the tools of effective advocacy, namely the right to cross-examine any hearsay declarants. Defendant's arguments rest on the premise that effective assistance of counsel requires access to the full range of adversarial tools, including cross-examination at every stage of the criminal proceeding. The court is not persuaded by defendant's argument. The full application of a defendant's right to counsel at a preliminary hearing, which is limited to a probable cause determination, need not be as exhaustive as it must be at trial. the right
That's
to
a better
counsel
way
may
to
be
do it,
tailored to the
Gene.
proceeding at hand. The same can be said for the protections under the 14th Amendment's Due Process Clause. At minimum, due process requires notice and an opportunity to be heard in a meaningful manner. The specific procedures require, however, sorry, I note some things that minor issues I need to change, so I'm making those changes right now. However, depend upon the nature and purpose of the proceeding at issue. Because a preliminary hearing is limited to determining probable cause rather than guilt or innocence, due process does not necessarily require all the evidentiary safeguards applicable at trial. The court is likewise unpersuaded that the Eighth Amendment is implicated by the challenged procedures. The Eighth Amendment authorities cited by defendant concern the reliability required in the proceedings that determine guilt or authorized punishment, particularly capital punishment. A preliminary hearing performs neither function. It serves only to determine whether probable cause exists to believe the charged offense.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, why do you even need, I mean, why can't the judge just read documents and go, hey, probable cause exists. I'm reading it. It's obvious. Why does there need to be a hearing? I guess, like the defense, can argue and say, well, that doesn't count. Or, I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of, there's a lot of wasted time in trials. But hey, you guys, Marty up there just did a generous challenge offer, and we're frozen at 2. We need to get 3 more gifted memberships up there to reach the challenge.
Offenses were committed. Because defendant's guilt, innocence, and punishment are not at issue during the preliminary hearing, the court concludes the Eighth Amendment concerns identified by defendant are not implicated at this stage of the proceedings. As for the defendant's argument that Article 1, Section 12 of the Utah Constitution and Rule 1102, the Utah Rules of Evidence create an unconstitutional mandatory presumption of reliability.
I don't know why it's taken them so long. The defense keeps pushing back even the probable cause.
And results in inappropriate burden shifting.
I think what's happening here is the defense team in the Tyler Robinson case, they're kind of screwed. This is one of the most simple, obvious cases in the history of true crime. Anybody out there selling you something other than that are idiots. Okay, this is so clear, it's ridiculous. However, the death penalty is what the prosecution is going after, and they should in a case like this. This is what barbarians do. Tyler Robinson is a barbarian, and he needs to be taken out of society. All right. So what they're doing here is they're trying to do every little trick they can to try to get the death penalty off the table. Okay. That's why they're trying to have the prosecution sanctioned for correcting an error in the media when they said that the bullet didn't match. I think the judge is going to rule against the defense in that one because it's ludicrous. And death penalty is still going to be on the table. So what they want is to try to get the death penalty off the table so that they can go to trial with nothing to lose. Tyler Robinson has 0 to lose going to trial with the death penalty not on the table. Because it's just like, oh, we're playing with house money. Yeah, he did this and everything. Let's see if we can just get some stupid juror out there to say that he didn't do it. You know? But the death penalty is a whole different ballgame here. So, and I'm not sure the state is going to settle or, cut a deal with Tyler Robinson in this case. This is a case that needs to go to trial. Daylight needs to be shed on the facts of the case for all of society to see. And I think Tyler Robinson should get the death penalty. He planned it. He shot a totally innocent person just talking on campus and shot him and planned it, premeditated, the whole 9 yards. If any case deserves the death penalty, this is one of them. All right, did anybody hear what I said? We need to get 3 more gifted memberships up in there to match Marty's Bar and Grill's generous offer challenge attempt.
The court does not find this argument persuasive. The presumption of reliability is confined to the presumption that the hearsay evidence is admissible. That the presumption does not require the magistrate to find the evidence credible or that it supports a finding of probable cause. The magistrate still retains the ultimate decision-making authority on whether probable cause has been established. Admissibility and evidentiary weight remain distinct concepts. Although Article 1, Section 12, and Rule 1102 permit the admission of reliable hearsay, they do not require the magistrate to accept.
And hey, Wild Bill, I always appreciate it, but you know, I wish other people would do it. I mean, you're always so generous, helping out all the time, and you know, I'm always hoping somebody else will jump in. It's not like it used to be in here. It's, you know, different times.
That evidence is credible or sufficient to establish probable cause.
He's tried to move it along, but these idiots over here, the defense down here, they keep doing little tricks and well, we need to have a hearing on this. We need a hearing on that.
It has probable.
Thank you, Wild Bill Wassman.
Cause determination remains in that.
Good night, horse teeth, cow teeth. I gotta say, that's one of the most unusual names on YouTube, right? Let's be honest.
The hands of a magistrate, a judicial officer, Article 1, Section 12, and Rule 1102 have not violated the separation of powers principles.
Yeah, I know you're trying to, you do it. I know it's what you're doing. I'm just feel like, man, I wish other people would help you out, you know?
Based off the foregoing analysis and findings, the court issues the following order. Having carefully considered defendant's constitutional objections, the governing provisions of Article 1, Section 12 of the Utah Constitution and Rule 1102, and the applicable authorities, the court concludes that the challenge provisions may constitutionally be applied at defendant's preliminary hearing. Accordingly, defendant's motion is respectfully denied. And that concludes the order as it relates to reliable hearsay in 1102. Court now turns to the second ruling, order regarding defendant's application for a certificate of attendance of out-of-state witness in state's motion to quash subpoena. Give me one moment here. I just need to get a drink of water. And again, I will omit the citations, but it will be included in the full order that is uploaded with the court. This matter comes before the court on defendant Tyler James Robinson's application for certificate of attendance of out-of-state witness under Utah Code, Section 77-21-3. Defendant seeks to compel the live testimony of Lance Twiggs at the upcoming preliminary hearing.
And by the way, I'm going to rewind it because I think this is the important part. But Wild Bill, I mean, you know, if there's any nights where you go, I can't do it tonight or whatever, just don't do it, okay? I mean, I don't want you to feel like you have to do something. You know, nobody has to support my channel at all. I just put effort in there to try to reach the goals, knowing, you know, what my channel needs to survive, and then at the same time knowing, you know, that the rest of it goes to the true crime related charities and so forth that we've been doing. Now, we don't have to do that part. You know, I mean, I think that's such a cool thing that we've been doing. We're almost at $300,000. Maybe that's I've been thinking about it for a while. Somebody else mentioned it to me too, but maybe, you know, maybe that's sort of the 300,000 kind of, you know, call it a day. You know, I don't know. I'll still donate money each month, but it's just so hard these days. You know, people would rather support the absolute dipshits of true crime who just sit there and sensationalize everything and pretend they're onto something. The rest of us who, you know, which very few of us that just put out the factual information, work through the cases, we get screwed. Okay, and so that's just the way it is.
To compel the live testimony of Lance Twiggs at the upcoming preliminary hearing, the state opposes the application and seeks to quash the subpoena. Having reviewed the briefing and the
so the defense wanted Lance Twiggs to have to testify at the preliminary hearing, and the judge is denying that.
Legal authorities, the court issues the following decision and order. Defendant is charged with aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, obstruction of justice, tampering with a witness, and violent offense committed in the presence of a child. Lance Twiggs allegedly resided with and was in a romantic relationship with defendant at the time of the alleged offenses. The state does not intend to call Mr. Twiggs to testify live at the preliminary hearing. Instead, the state plans to establish probable cause through reliable hearsay, specifically a video recorded interview of Mr. Twiggs conducted pursuant to Utah Rule of Evidence 1102. The state will also rely on electronic messages, a handwritten note, and other corroborating evidence. According to the record before the court, Mr. Twiggs allegedly made statements to investigators indicating that the defendant confessed to the crimes, concealed the weapon, disposed of clothing, and directed Mr. Twiggs not to contact law enforcement. Defendant seeks to compel Mr. Twiggs' attendance from Texas to provide live testimony. Defendant asserts that he intends to cross-examine Mr. Twiggs extensively concerning the reliability and credibility of his statements his immunity agreements with the state and federal prosecutors, his state of mind, and the surrounding circumstances of the alleged offenses. When Mr. Twiggs' counsel declined to accept service of a subpoena, defendant sought this court's intervention to certify the out-of-state subpoena. The preliminary hearing is a fundamental procedural right under Article 1, Section 13 of the Utah Constitution, but its purpose is strictly limited to determining whether probable cause exists to bind a defendant over for trial. To prevail, the state must present sufficient evidence to support a reasonable belief that an offense has been committed and that the defendant committed it. Under Rule 7b of the Utah Rules of Criminal Procedure, the probable cause determination may be based in whole or in part on reliable hearsay. While Rule 7ba states that a defendant may call witnesses and cross-examine adverse witnesses, the right to subpoena witnesses is not absolute. Under Rule 14a2, the court may quash or modify the subpoena if compliance would be unreasonable. The Utah Supreme Court has repeatedly emphasized that a preliminary hearing is not a trial on the merits, but a gateway to the finder of fact. Consequently, the magistrate's role is not to weigh credible but conflicting evidence, nor to eliminate alternative inferences favoring the defense. Such tasks are reserved for the jury at trial. A magistrate may only disregard evidence if it is wholly lacking and incapable of creating a reasonable inference. Recently, in State v. Lopez, the Utah Supreme Court clarified the intersection
Thank you, Randizzle Randy.
between a defendant's right to call witnesses at a preliminary hearing and the court's authority to quash subpoenas. The court held that a subpoena compelling an alleged victim to testify at a preliminary hearing is unreasonable and should be quashed unless defendant
It's way better to be in jail than to be on death row, you know.
demonstrates the subpoena is necessary to present specific evidence that is reasonably likely to defeat the showing of probable cause. Defendant argues that he has a constitutional right to compulsory process under the Sixth Amendment in Article 1, Section 12 of the Utah Constitution, as well as a right to call witnesses under Rule 7b. Defendant contends that Mr. Twiggs is central, highly material witness whose testimony touches on nearly every charge and enhancement. Defense counsel argues that Lopez was specifically tailored to protect the constitutional rights of victims pursuant to the Victims' Rights Amendment, and because Mr. Twiggs is not a victim, Lopez does not directly apply. Defendant asserts that he must be permitted to test Mr. Twiggs' credibility, the circumstances of his immunity, and the reliability of his statement through live cross-examination. The state opposes the certification and moves to quash the subpoena. The state argues that the preliminary hearing are no longer discovery devices, having been strictly limited to probable cause determinations. Furthermore, the state argues that the Utah Constitution expressly permits the use of reliable hearsay at preliminary hearings, a practice which would be eviscerated if defendants could routinely subpoena the hearsay defendants. The state relies on State v. Schmidt and State v. Robinson to assert that credibility...
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of data in this case. That's what they're claiming. There's videos and terabytes, you know. I think it's hilarious when they say terabytes. That's because you get about 4 or 5 full surveillance videos, you're over a terabyte, you know. But it's like, you know, there's just a whole bunch of documents and stuff, and they just keep having hearing after hearing. They're just doing all the stuff that pros do, the defense counsels, you know, all the little challenges here, little challenge there. Well, we have to have a hearing there. Well, sir, we had to push back this hearing, so we need to push back the probable cause hearing now, and then it just keeps going on and on and on. They've been doing this the whole time.
At this
This is not unusual at all. This is how it works.
stage is extremely limited, rendering defendant's stated goal of testing credibility immaterial to the probable cause analysis. Thus, the state argues the subpoena is unreasonable under.
By the way, look at this, you guys. Look at these guys, man. That's how they are. They're like 2 peas in a pod. They just cuddle, just like that. Like Benny's the pillow for Clancy, and they just do that. That's how they do it.
Rule 14a2. The court expresses no opinion regarding whether the state ultimately will establish probable cause.
Yeah,
the court addresses only whether the subpoena should be enforced based upon the party's current proffers. The proffered evidence, including statements that the defendant confessed to shooting, hid a rifle, changed clothing, and directed Twiggs to withhold information, is directly material to the elements of aggravated murder, obstruction of justice, and witness tampering.
No, it wasn't really first. It was more recently they tried to get the prosecutor thrown off. Well, they tried to get him thrown off multiple times. Yeah, early on it was, what was that first thing? Oh, yeah, because he knew somebody in the crowd. Like, he had, like a family member or somebody was in the crowd, so he couldn't be impartial or something. What a joke. Jeez, these people.
If this evidence is presented at the hearing and evaluated under the governing preliminary hearing standard, which requires the court to view it in the light most favorable to the prosecution, as required by State v. Schmidt, it would constitute evidence from which a magistrate could find probable cause if credited under the standards governing preliminary hearings. The central dispute is whether the standard established in State v. Lopez applies to Mr. Twiggs, who is a non-victim witness. The defendant correctly argues that Lopez arose in the context of a subpoena directed to an alleged victim and that the Utah Supreme Court's analysis was informed in part by the protections afforded under the Utah Victims' Rights Amendment. The court agrees that Lopez cannot be read without attention to that context. Victim status mattered in Lopez because the subpoena imposed burdens upon persons whom Utah law independently protects from unnecessary harassment, delay, and re-traumatization. Although Lopez arose in the context of a victim subpoena, its discussion of Rule 14A2 provides guidance concerning how courts evaluate reasonableness in light of the limited purpose of a preliminary hearing. The court need not decide whether Lopez's precise holdings extend to all non-victim witnesses. Even assuming it does not, the same Rule 14 reasonableness considerations identified in Lopez support denial of the requested certification under the circumstances presented here. The Lopez court emphasized several principles that are not dependent upon victim status. 1. A preliminary hearing is not a discovery device. 2. The Utah Constitution permits the state to establish probable cause through reliable hearsay. And 3. The magistrate's role is limited to determining whether probable cause exists, not to resolve ordinary credibility disputes or weighing competing evidence. Those structural principles apply regardless of whether the subpoenaed witness is a victim, an eyewitness, a cooperating witness, or other hearsay declarant. Accordingly, the court relies primarily on Rule 14A2 in the limited purpose of a preliminary hearing. The court references Lopez only because of its discussion of reasonableness informs that analysis. Whether Lopez formally governs subpoenas directed to non-victim witnesses need not be resolved to decide the present motion. The court's ruling does not depend upon extending Lopez beyond its facts. Rather, Lopez is persuasive authority regarding the application of Rule 14A2's reasonableness requirement. While the court's holding rests independently upon Rule 14A2, Rule 7b, and the limited functions of a preliminary hearing. The court also considers defendants' constitutional arguments. The Sixth Amendment in Article 1, Section 12 of the Utah Constitution protected defendants' right to compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor. That right remains important at the preliminary hearing stage, but operates within the procedural framework governing probable cause determinations. Accordingly, the relevant question is not whether defendant may compel Mr. Twiggs' testimony at trial, but whether the proposed testimony is necessary to present evidence reasonably likely to defeat probable cause at this preliminary hearing stage. The court recognizes that compulsory process serves interests distinct from confrontation and discovery. Nevertheless, at the preliminary hearing stage, those interests must be evaluated within the procedural frameworks governing probable cause determinations and the limitations imposed by Utah law upon that proceeding. The court determines that compulsory process does not automatically require live testimony from a hearsay declarant at a preliminary hearing merely because a defendant seeks impeachment. Whether compulsory process requires live testimony depends upon the relationship between the proposed testimony and the probable cause determination at issue. Under the circumstances presented here.
Hey, thanks, Michelle H. Hey, we finally made the Marty's challenge.
The defendant has not identified testimony reasonably likely to negate probable cause, and the court therefore concludes that compulsory process does not require certification of the subpoena. For these reasons, the court need not determine whether Lopez.
I don't know. I think this judge here has made really good decisions for the public. I think what's going on here is these attorneys know how to make, slow things along. It doesn't matter if you try to speed things up. When these guys file something, a motion for something, then he has to have a hearing on that. So then he has to look at his schedule and go, okay, I've got an opening 2 weeks from now. And then that sort of starts pushing everything back because that motion is a ruling on something that then affects something else. And then they just keep doing this over and over and over. This is what they do. That's why you see these cases that take 4 years to get to trial, because they just sit there and twiddle their thumbs. Now, I would think after the preliminary hearing happens, then that's when you're going to start having the challenge for this, the challenge for that, the challenge for this piece of it, and it's just going to go on and on and on and on and on. Hopefully, though, the trial, if somehow miraculously things, that's where he can start moving things along himself. this is hard during this time. But I bet you, when is it? I bet that if there's going to be, if the trial is anytime soon, it'll likely be next year sometime. It's not going to be this year. That'd be shocking. I would think maybe in the summer, mid-year next year, the trial.
Has formally governed subpoenas directed to non-victim witnesses, even assuming it does not. The Rule 14A2, reasonableness principles discussed in Lopez supports the result here. The question remains whether the defendant has demonstrated that the proposed testimony is necessary to present specific evidence reasonably likely to defeat probable cause, rather than merely impeach the credibility of the state's evidence. Even under the framework discussed in Lopez, a subpoena survives a motion to quash only if demonstrated.
Hey, Marty, is it hot where you are? Because right where I am, it was like getting close to 100 degrees over here. It's crazy. You're a little up north there, but
The defendant demonstrates that the testimony is necessary to present specific evidence that is reasonably likely to defeat the showing of probable cause. Defendant asserts he wishes to cross-examine Mr. Twiggs on his reliability, credibility, immunity, state of mind, and the surrounding circumstances. Under Utah law, this does not establish a basis to require live testimony at a preliminary hearing. As established in State v. Ramirez and State v. Schmidt, a magistrate may not weigh credibility, but conflicting evidence. Even if the defendant's cross-examination successfully exposes inconsistencies in Mr. Twiggs' statements or highlights his motives to lie, due to his immunity agreements, the magistrate is required to draw all reasonable inferences in favor of the state. Evidence demonstrating bias, motive, immunity benefits, or inconsistent statements may be highly relevant at trial and may provide fertile grounds for cross-examination before the ultimate trier of fact. The court does not minimize the significance of immunity agreements as potential sources of bias. Rather, under the governing preliminary hearing standard, such evidence affects the probable cause determination only if it eliminates the reasonable inference arising from the state's proffered evidence. However, under the limited function of a preliminary hearing, such evidence defeats probable cause only if it would render the state's evidence incapable of supporting a reasonable inference that the defendant committed the charged offenses. Absent such a showing, the court may not resolve competing credibility determinations or weigh conflicting inferences against the state. Even assuming the defendant successfully elicited the anticipated impeachment evidence regarding bias, immunity, motive, or inconsistent statements, the court cannot.
I don't think this judge is going to allow a plea deal. Yeah, that's what I wanted to keep letting it play. At least it took what I was going to say. They're not going to allow a plea deal in this case. This is a case that has to go to trial. Well, I would say this: if there is a plea deal, it won't be your typical. This isn't going to be like Bill Thompson, where he just said, "Oh, here's a plea," and there's nothing. This would be one where if there's a plea deal, there's probably going to be like a 2 or 3 day hearing inquest thing where Tyler Robinson has to answer every single question. There's going to be video played, and all the answers will be given, and the public will get to know what the reality is. This one's too important to not allow that to happen. That's why their defense is in a really difficult spot, because the prosecutors aren't going to want this to be a plea deal and just sort of disappear. This needs to be, like I said, sunshine on it.
Conclude on the present record that the state's proffer would become wholly lacking or incapable of supporting a reasonable inference of probable cause under the standards governing preliminary hearings. The court recognizes impeachment evidence may, in an appropriate case, undermine probable cause where it demonstrates the state's evidence is so unreliable, internally inconsistent, or otherwise deficient that no reasonable inference supporting probable cause remains. In such circumstances, impeachment evidence may do more than merely challenge credibility. It may negate the evidentiary foundation necessary to support bindover. Defendant has not made that showing here. The anticipated examination concerns matters that would generate competing credibility inferences rather than eliminating the reasonable inferences supporting the state's showing. Nothing in this ruling should be understood as creating a categorical prohibition against subpoenas directed to non-victim witnesses at preliminary hearings. The court concludes only that the defendant's present proffer does not identify testimony reasonably likely to negate probable cause under the circumstances presently before the court. The court also notes that the defendant...
he can plead guilty, and then I don't think there's a trial, but then he'll get the death penalty, right? So he'd only plead guilty if he was going to get something for it, but he's not going to get anything, That's the thing. Like I said, like, let's say you talk to Erica Kirk and she was okay with him getting, life without the possibility of parole, no chance of ever getting out. He can never do the same thing as Koberger, but he also has to sit there and answer questions from everybody, so that the truth is out there. That would be good, I mean, the thing is that way there's no question that, like, you have to have it where at the end of the day, Candace Owens looks like a total moron, because she is. All right. So when the truth comes out, you see it, you know it. He's the one that's saying it. You got it right there. Boom. Of course, you know what they'll say is, somebody put him up to it. How much are they paying the parents? He's doing blah, blah, blah. God, these people are crazy.
It seeks compulsory process through the interstate witness certification procedure, which imposes burdens upon a non-resident witness in a sister state court. While not dispositive, those considerations further inform the Rule 14 reasonableness analysis. Under the record presently before the court, the defendant has identified anticipated impeachment and credibility evidence, but has not identified specific testimony reasonably likely to negate probable cause. Given the limited purpose of the preliminary hearing and the state's ability to proceed through reliable hearsay, the court concludes that enforcement of the subpoena would be unreasonable under Rule 14A2. This ruling rests on defendant's present proffer in the record currently before the court. The court need not decide whether different circumstances, a different evidentiary showing, or a different category of witness would warrant a different result under Rule 14A2. The court's ruling is procedural rather than evidentiary. Nothing in the decision in the order should be construed as a determination regarding the credibility, reliability, weight, or ultimate admissibility of any witness, statement, or item of evidence that may be later presented. Those matters remain for determination under the governing standards applicable at the...
Yeah, well, here's what the truth is, Cindy, is this case, like I've told you before, I've gone over this, the probable cause and all the, the newer information that's come out and everything. And it's the strongest case I've ever seen. It's the probable cause document. If that was presented at trial, I'd find him guilty. I don't need anything. It's so severe. The preliminary hearing is just going to be 10 times as bad as that. Because we're going to start seeing videos. They're going to show video, and you're going to see like his face and shit. It's... I mean, I don't know what they're going to be, maybe the probable cause they'll hold stuff back because they need to keep stuff, from the trial, whatever. And it's not, all it is just probable cause, meaning over 50%. The problem is, it's like even the minimal amount that you put in this case forward, it's like 100%. You know what I mean? You're just looking for 51% in probable cause. But when you put it out there, even the minimal amount of information, it's 100% that he did it. That's what's difficult for them. There isn't like this little shaky, well, he could have been over there. And no. This is, I mean, just look at it like, he goes there. He not only does he write about going there, he tells his parents about the event. And then he writes about it to Twigs, and then he goes there, he shoots and kills, and then on the way in there's video of the guy limping because he's got a gun in his pants. His parents said, hey, that looks like our kid. And then they tell police these certain events and conversations they had with him, and then he writes about those exact same conversations in the text messages he has with Twigs. And then, his DNA is going to be on the roof. His DNA is on the trigger of the gun. He even mentions in the writings exactly what was written on each of the bullets. His DNA is on the trigger of the gun. There's a blanket in there. His DNA is going to be on that sucker. It just goes on and on and on. Then later in the evening, right after his car with his license plate is driving around. It parks, does a car wash, etc. And then they probably even have the Burger King stuff. And then later in the evening, he parks right behind the spot where the house is. The house is right behind the wooded area where the rifle was. And he was literally typing as his car is right there. The GPS information puts his car right there, and he's typing messages to Twigs about, hey, well, looks like I'm going to have to leave it. Then they have him search for how to get back to his house from there, and then the camera shows him driving away. This is ridiculous. It's such a slam dunk. It's embarrassing how crappy of a criminal he was.
Subsequent stage of the proceedings. So under findings, the preliminary hearing is limited to determining probable cause and is not a discovery device. The state is constitutionally permitted to rely on
I hope there isn't anybody in here that thinks he has a shot, that thinks he might not have done this. If you think he might not have done it, there's something wrong with your brain. It literally does not work. This guy absolutely killed Charlie Kirk. And yes, there's trials out there. They're innocent until proven guilty. Yada, yada, yada. I'm not on a jury. I'm telling you that it is 100% that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. There is absolutely zero doubt. And if anybody sees doubt, they need a lobotomy. That's just the truth. All right? Thank you very much.
reliable hearsay to establish probable cause. The record presently before the court that the proposed examination is directly
But Gray, it doesn't make the trial interesting if there isn't something that we can, think that he might not have done it, you bastard.
directed primarily toward credibility, bias, reliability, and impeachment rather than toward evidence likely to negate
it'll be
probable
interesting, though, to
cause.
see the evidence. That's what's going to be great. The reason this case is interesting is when they put it all together and we get to see all the different videos, and, it's just going to be awesome, right?
Applying Rule 14A2's reasonableness requirement in light of the limited...
Hey, what would happen if I did, because of Marty and some of the PayPal stuff, what if I did a 5 for 5er myself? Because in YouTube, we're not even close, but if you guys donate 5, I'll donate 5 by myself. So if all of you combine together, donate 5, I'll donate 5 myself. Yeah, they'll just claim it's a conspiracy. That means it has to go, this needs to go to trial. And then the weird part is like a trial gives the wackos more. See, he didn't do it, man. He was railroaded, but if he says something, they'll look dumber if they start trying to say that he's just doing it because they forced him to. That would look, people would go, okay, yeah, I've heard it. Okay, you're a lunatic, but if he gets found guilty, they'll say he was railroaded, and they'll be able to claim it, and etc. But anybody interested in trying to help the channel out if I do a 5 for 5er? I'll donate $25 worth if you guys all combine together. Do that.
The purpose of a preliminary hearing and the authorities discussed above, defendant has failed to identify specific anticipated testimony that is reasonably likely to negate probable cause, as distinguished from anticipated impeachment that would merely create competing credibility inferences. Therefore, enforcement of the subpoena is not warranted on the present record. Based off the foregoing analysis and findings, the court issues the following order. It is hereby ordered that the defendant's application for certificate of attendance of out-of-state witness is respectfully denied, and the state's motion to quash the subpoena is granted. It is further ordered that this denial is without prejudice and subject to...
Yeah, the facts of the case are interesting. I can't wait to see them all put together, because I've done it myself. I've made the videos. I actually think the video that I made, the last 2 that I've made on the case, the second one specifically, is probably one of the best videos I've ever made. And nobody watched it. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, I'll throw the last part out there. Let's see. Where is the damn thing? Content. Anybody else want to jump in there? We got Wild Bill Wassman again. Okay. Is this it? Yeah, this is crazy. It's only got 2,800 views. What an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment to people, not me. This video is great. This isn't one where, it's just, it is. Now, if you've been watching Candace Owens, she'll tell. See, look at I walked the entire route. I mean, I'm not even going to play that part. It's like the whole thing. I show you exactly what
on September 11th, 2020. Any of the in a moment here, I'll be 2 p.m.
So here it is. Look at that.
Tyler Robinson can be
12:02,
seen coming
here it is.
around this corner right here.
Here it comes. Boom. There's where the camera is. And then I made an animation of exactly what this is going to look exactly like this when they show it. Of course, he'll be limping, not
The
walking.
documents state that at
normally.
approximately 12:02 hours, Robinson is observed walking on the north side of the Losi Center building, walking with the same gait as observed earlier. Robinson walks south on the sidewalk on the east side of the Losi Center building. Robinson enters the Losi Center building through a set of doors on the southeast corner of the Losi Center building.
That's what it's
I
going to look
actually
like.
also used the daylight system, so the sun angle should be correct.
Right. So anyways, he
in that
walks
360
around.
my
And then he goes inside the
360
building
degree video
right
again.
there.
Almost his eyes. He's
See,
doing
this
his
is my video when I
his
went
event.
in there.
Turn to the right. You see in front of us right there? Building.
Like, here
Robinson
we go, up the
walks
stairs.
to a short concrete wall that separates the common area from the rooftop of the Losi Center, or
then-
just lean over and kind
Oh, yeah,
of
look at
roll
this
into
right
it.
here.
Way too.
So look, I have him walking.
And it's very
It's going
short.
to look
You
just
can
like this.
Basically, step over it, or just lean over and kind of roll into it. The
Yeah,
documents
12:17.
state that at approximately 12:17 hours, Robinson climbs over the short wall and appears to crouch down on the north side of the wall of the rooftop, as you can see here in the video.
So he just kind of climbs over.
At approximately
not the greatest
12:22
animation
hours, Robinson stands up and starts running across the rooftop of the Losi Center building. Robinson runs to the west side of the rooftop and appears to scoot along the rooftop area as he gets closer to the edge of the rooftop. Now you'll see all of this
So look
in
at
an
that.
animated form.
I'm not sure why there's
He
no
gets
shadow.
closer to the edge of the rooftop, slows down, crouches down, and lays down.
A few weeks ago, there was a transgender mass shooter, and ever since then, about 3 weeks later, the Trump DOJ said that we should start talking about revoking gun rights for transgender. So, do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years? Too many.
Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys coming out here.
We appreciate you. Love
You gonna go down and see the sure they like shoot you guys here.
crowd. It's just there's just so much. So before we had a flag and we had it, so it was
Counting or not counting gang violence.
What was that? We are here live at Utah Valley State University. There's been a shooting at the Charlie Kirk.
Isn't that weird? Like, I timed it all up. Like, that's exactly what's happening at the time, right there.
Event, the TPUSA event. There has been a shooting.
It's pretty good shit, man. Pretty good.
renewal. Because probable cause determinations necessarily depend upon evidence actually presented, this denial is without prejudice. If the state's presentation materially differs from the proffer presented before the court, or if defendant can identify specific testimony reasonably likely to negate probable cause, defendant may renew the request. And that is the order of the court. And again, the court anticipates filing that at both of these today. And the filed order will be the controlling order in both of those issues. Now, I understand that there is another outstanding motion that was filed around the same time. I believe it was Thursday evening regarding the EMC electric.
I wouldn't be able to choose something. I mean, Koberger deserves the death penalty just the same as Tyler Robinson. Yeah.
Electronic media in the courtroom. Does the parties anticipate when briefing will be completed?
But I mean, Koberger's more like vicious, like a psycho. You guys just say that about Tyler Robinson because he just sort of appears kind of, sort of. But I'm just saying it's like they both deserve the same thing. But hey, guys, I got a challenge out there. We need 4 more gifted memberships or just 4 $5 super chats, and then I'll donate $25 to gift memberships to other people.
Anticipates relying on his previous arguments with respect to the media's presence and the openness of this proceeding. Again, we encourage an open and transparent process that the citizens can follow, and so they can trust the process. So we do not anticipate filing a written response to that, and we'll rely on our prior arguments and submit it to the court.
All right. And does the defense want to be heard on that issue?
Your Honor, we filed our objection yesterday, so that is before the court.
So you guys are still watching videos on Carmelo Anthony? That sucker, that case is over, man. Like he's, it's all it is just going to make you angry watching shit on, people talking about, oh, he didn't do it. He was railroaded. I guess apparently that's what court TV's saying. If I had to choose, and I was looking at both of them, and they're sitting right there, and I could, choose. I would say that Koberger is probably the one that you would say is more evil. I mean, it's hard to say, right? But like he got in there and physically with a knife started stabbing all these different people, which is sort of different, a little less. It's more. I don't know. It's more. I don't know. It seems like there's more depravity than somebody shooting somebody, I guess. But then Tyler Robinson planned it all out, and the effect on humanity was much worse in Tyler Robinson. So that's where there's like a trade-off there. Tyler Robinson killed somebody that was a very important person. That was, sort of, it's like killing Robert Kennedy. Who's worse, Koberger or the guy that killed, Robert Kennedy? Well, shit, you just killed somebody that could have actually been the president, probably would have been the president of the United States. And so, who deserves the death penalty more? The one that affected the United States history or, took the life of, kind of a smaller effect on humanity, I guess. Even though Koberger is more psycho, right? Ish. It's hard to explain, So I don't know. That's a hard one to pick.
All right. Well, what I hope to do is issue a ruling on that as well as the order to show cause issue. And again, the parties, and namely the defendant, is entitled to that ruling before the hearing in order to properly prepare. And the court respects the time necessary to prepare from both sides. And
well, it looks like Marty helped out again. So you guys, you didn't reach my challenge, but Marty did. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to donate the 5. Man, you guys. Where is that? Oh, yeah. Right there. Membership gifting. Thanks, Marty. And there you go.
And wishes to issue a timely order. Let's see if we can find a hearing date between now and the prelim. And again, in regards to the order to show cause, just to help give some guidance, the court prioritized the motions that would affect the preliminary hearing. Not to say that the order to show cause isn't important, but that does not weigh upon issues that could result in delay of the preliminary hearing. So I just wanted to offer that background in regards to the delay of that ruling. All right. Let's see. Today is the 22nd, and how quickly this month is passing. Let's see.
Every single night.
availability on, and I know my staff isn't aware of this date, but availability of the parties on this Friday at 8:30. Again, I'm trying to get a quick turnaround for you in respect of your time and preparation on a ruling on both of these issues, the order to show cause and the motion filed yesterday.
The date is available, Your Honor.
All right. And so I see Ms. Visser nodding her head. Ms.
Yes,
Nestor?
the defense, I'm sorry, I was trying to unmute. I was having trouble unmuting. The defense will be available, Your Honor.
All right. So June 26th at 8:30 in the morning.
Right.
And the court anticipates starting promptly. Again, I apologize for today. There's always last minute edits that one has to make. And I'd rather be concise and on point than
I guess it's coming up this weekend.
Not exactly where I want to be. All right. So we'll plan on June
no, thank
26th
you,
at 8:30
Marty.
in the morning. And that leaves one last issue. And the court wants to put all parties on notice and and because this preliminary hearing will be open to the public, that the court is not allowing any electronics into the courtroom, not laptops, electronic devices, electronic watches, electronic or Google glasses or Android glasses, or however they want to be determined. The court is stating that for only the preliminary hearing, that any and all electronic devices must be left outside the courtroom, not just in your pocket. So no cell phones, laptops, tablets, electronic watches, any electronic recording device or electronic glasses will not be permitted at the courtroom. And if you have it, you will be turned away. And the reason for that is the court wishes to uphold the dignity and the civility and uphold the constitutional rights of all parties in this courtroom. And that is the best way.
I think he didn't rule on the, he ruled on the Twigs thing. He just didn't rule on, let's see, the, what the hell, I just had it in my head. He's going to rule on, God, my brain just went, I just had it in my head. And then I thought of something else and it left. Covered Elena Ward yet? I don't know who Elena Ward is, but yeah. Yeah, all it was in that one is exactly what we said. There's no physical damage. They couldn't find anything wrong with her. So they have to wait for toxicology. Yeah, that's right. That's the one it was. No, they were there to rule on the Twigs. For him, they wanted to be able to cross-examine Twigs. And then he also wanted to rule on whether or not to punish the prosecution for correcting an error. That's what I said at the beginning. So they corrected an error. See, that's what's so... The judge will not rule on the side of the defense here. You know, there's no way. Because all they did was correct an error when they said the bullet didn't match the gun. And they just said, no, that's not what it said. They just weren't able to match it because the bullet was damaged. What's wrong with that? Nothing. I know he's ruling out on Friday. I just heard that. The 26th.
Court sees to be able to do so. There will be a unique seating arrangement at the preliminary hearing to accommodate as much as the press and public that can be safely.
Now, this guy, he hasn't made one ruling yet that I thought, oh, that sucked. Not one time. Every single time he rules where a reasonable person would rule, not the crap that the defense tries to pull.
Admitted and for an orderly courtroom. And the court will advise all the parties as we begin those proceedings on what's in the decorum order, highlighting a few points, because all parties are entitled to be treated with dignity and respect within those proceedings, and the court will exercise all of its powers to ensure that that is done. So I just want to put that on the record. This does not apply to the attorney. So if you're worried like, oh no, I can't bring my laptop, absolutely, you can bring your laptop and your cell phones, because I know that communication and your reliance upon that is necessary in order to properly do your job. So as it relates to the public, to the press who are excluded, obviously is counsel on record for the parties and necessary court staff. And so I just wanted to put that on the record well ahead of the prelim, so there's no questions or concerns that may arise. Counsel, with that, is there anything else that this court can address today? And Mr. Burt, your mic is muted. All right, give it a try.
How's that?
That's perfect. I do that once a day, so I know how that feels.
Michael Bird for Mr. Robinson. Judge, in light of the court's rulings today, I do have one logistical issue I'd like to raise with the court, if I might.
Yes.
As the court might be aware, we have arranged to bring to the hearing 7 forensic witnesses. The state has identified a number of hearsay reports. I think they're exhibits 30 through 34 that they intend to introduce. And we, in turn, have arranged with the federal authorities to fly out from the East Coast 6 of those forensic examiners. And then we have a 7th examiner who resides in state. And in light of the court's ruling, I'm wondering if the court, and note the state has been kept abreast of our attempts to subpoena these people. No objection to that testimony has been lodged so far by the state, but in light of the court's rulings today, I anticipate that there will be objections to the admissibility of those 7 forensic experts. And what I think would be in the interest of everybody, including the court's schedule, is if we could resolve the issue of whether those witnesses are going to be permitted either before the preliminary hearing or at the very latest after the state presents its prima facie case, because we will have those people ready to fly out. And if we can get a ruling from the court before that actually happens, we could perhaps shorten the hearing considerably and also alleviate the expense and inconvenience of flying 6 people from the East Coast. I have not had time to discuss this with the state, and I know the state had not heard the court's ruling until this morning. But in light of that ruling, I'm wondering whether the court could take up either on Friday or at some date before the preliminary hearing any objections the state might have to calling those 7 forensic experts.
All right. I appreciate you bringing that up, and to all parties, anything that we can bring up prior to the prelim serves us well in regards to time management. Turning to the state.
Judge, we're 2 weeks out today from the preliminary hearing. Obviously, I haven't consulted with co-counsel on this, but I think we could have any objections that we may file. We haven't discussed this, but we could have those filed by Friday. If not, maybe Thursday. I'm not sure what the defense would do with respect to responding, but I think we could hear this prior to the preliminary hearing.
All right. Well, and I realize the position of both parties. I realize Mr. Burt need to wait till the ruling of the court, and I realize and I understand the state's response. Let's see what we can do to address that Friday. If briefing is completed, or if the defense needs time to respond to the state's briefing, whenever that comes in, the court will be sympathetic to that and will adjust accordingly. So tentatively, we'll plan on addressing that on the 26th at 8:30. But again, I respect and I want the parties to be able to fully respond. So we'll adjust to ensure that both sides have an equal opportunity to respond to this request, and the court will take it up and address it before the preliminary hearing as soon as you can. And the court will be flexible. If it can't be heard Friday, the court will find time to hear it the following week, well before the preliminary hearing, because I understand and I respect that you need time to prepare and make best use of your time in order to do your duty and uphold the constitutional rights of all parties. So that's the best answer I can give. Mr. Burt, any thoughts?
No, Your Honor, thank you for that accommodation. I appreciate that.
All right. Any final matters before we conclude today?
No, Your Honor, not from the defense.
Not from the state.
All right. Thank you to all parties, and we'll see you on and just to clarify, on WebEx and for Mr. Robinson to defense, what's your request as it relates to him?
Same, Your Honor, if he could just...
Yeah, I'm not going to get up at 7:30, but we'll play the same thing in the evening again. The preliminary hearing I'm going to be doing live here, though, okay? So if you want to be, you want to watch it here over anybody else, okay? Because I actually have 360-degree video from all the different locations, so when they're talking about stuff during a break, I can say, okay, look, see, this is what it really looked like. And we got it all here. I've got this whole thing memorized, basically. All right.
Just be listening with no video. That would be great. Thank you.
All right. We'll go ahead and put that.
I can see we had like 220 people watching when we were doing Nancy Guthrie. Now we're down to 135 because people just get too bored with anything other than Nancy Guthrie. Kind of sucks. Which one was this? Oh, yeah, that was a different... all right, so... Well, we got that, and so we'll have to wait till Friday to get the ruling on if there's going to be a punishment. There isn't going to be one. I can't imagine the judge finding that there would be, oh, you broke the gag order, therefore the death penalty is off the table. What a joke. Got to be kidding me. He corrected an error. If it was him going out there, and the arguments are so well done from the prosecution that on that hearing, that was the previous one. Hey, good night, Marty. How you feeling out there? You drinking that water? Hey, Marty, you still here? Say something if you're still sitting there. I'm just waiting, see if he's still there. They did something like that in Lori Daybell case and took the death penalty out. Yeah, but that wasn't like that. There's nothing like that at all. I'm sure it was something totally different in that case. This case, they just fixed a stupid error. Somebody put out there, the media read this document and put out that it is not, that the bullet does not match the gun. And they just said, no, they weren't able, that's not what they said. That's totally different. That's not even closely related to that. I guess he's gone. Marty, where are you, Marty? I was going to tell you the chicken story. I think you missed it. Yeah, I guess he's gone. All right. Marty seems like he's one of those guys, basically, that right when he said bye, he's out. He's gone. Well, it would have to have been something egregious. Can you think of any judge that would go, oh, you broke the gag order because you corrected an error? That just sounds stupid. And it was the reason the defense doesn't like it is because they wanted the false information to stay out there to help their client. How sick is that? Anyways, let's take a look at this thing right here. Barry Morphew now. All right. And I don't know if they're still here, but the Elena case, Elena Moore, she said the medical examiner, there was no bruising, there was nothing, no physical evidence of any kind at all that somebody harmed Elena. Okay, so then now they're waiting for toxicology. Hopefully that gives them an answer. All right, so, and that's exactly what we've said over here. That's totally different, right? Failed to provide discovery information. That's like totally different. Yeah. Right, that's like a huge difference there. Like too slow to give the defense enough information, timely manner to have an effective prosecution. Not like if somebody put in the paper, let's see, Lori was 50 miles away at the time. Look at this document. And they go, no. See, the thing is, and then let's say the prosecution then came out and said, no, that's an error in the document. The time code on the camera was off. We determined that it was actually 3 days later, so she was there. That's not fair. We wanted to make it look like she wasn't there. Penalize them. Bull crap. If the judge rules that there's an error and does something, I won't respect him at all for the rest of the case, because that makes no sense at all. It's stupid. All right. Do you guys want to see this thing here? You guys want to see this one right here? The Barry Morphew stuff. So you guys all know who Barry Morphew is, right? Who was accused of killing his wife. He did kill his wife. Back in the day, years ago, basically. I mean, I think 2020. And he was supposed to be on trial, but in that case, they did get punished, the prosecution. And so then he just, the charges were dropped. And then later, when more evidence was found, they arrested him again. They actually found her body, Suzanne Morphew's body, I think in 2024. And so not too long, a year or so after that, they finally arrested him again. All right, so this document's sort of long, but I could just read it. And then after that, I wanted to look at, there's one document that I found that seems like there was a lot of this, it was kind of condensed information in it that we could take a look at. All right. Barry Morphew, a Colorado man charged with murdering his wife Suzanne in 2020 after she was reported missing in Chaffee County, was living with a woman in Arizona. So he's already with somebody else. And now you sort of wonder, okay, did you know her before? In Arizona, and using a fake name when he was rearrested in the summer of 2025. Isn't that crazy? He had a fake name and he was living. Did she know that was? She must have known it was him. This is one of those sick wackos probably that, hey Barry, I don't believe you did it. You're really hot. You want to come hang out with me? Maybe call Koberger up too. We could all have a party together. An arrest report from Arizona Department of Public Safety also states that the Colorado Bureau of Investigation asked the department to keep track of Barry Morphew's movements in the months leading up to his arrest. It's crazy. So it's like Denver 7 investigates obtained the arrest report through its media partners. I was looking for that. I couldn't find it. At ABC 15 in Phoenix and verified it through Arizona DPS. According to the report, CBI had contacted Arizona DPS in February to provide information on Barry Morphew and to ask for assistance in monitoring his whereabouts in Arizona. On June 18th, CBI informed Arizona... Wait, where was he in Arizona? Where was he? He wasn't in Tucson, was he? Do you think that maybe he abducted Nancy Guthrie? Oh, I've got a whole new video stream. Oh my God, everybody, help. Oh, hold the horses. Breaking news, everybody, breaking news. That's what the unethical YouTubers do. All right. Anyways, and that warrant, maybe, let's see. On June 18th, CBI informed Arizona DPS that they were anticipating a grand jury indictment and that a warrant may be issued for Morphew's arrest. That evening, Arizona DPS received the warrant, which included a $3 million bond and nationwide extradition back to Colorado. All right. They also received a warrant to place a GPS tracking device on his truck. CBI agent in charge, Greg Slater, went to Arizona. Why did they want to track his whereabouts? They already found her body, Barry Morphew was arrested June 20th during a traffic stop. The woman who Denver 7 investigates is not identified. So this is when he was arrested. That lady was in the car with him. And she is not charged with the crime. Told police that Morphew told her his name was Lee Moore. What's going on with Moore, by the way, you guys? I mean, Moore just became the most popular name in the history of the world. I keep seeing it everywhere. They had met in late December of 2024, and he moved in with her in May of 2025. So they met, and she thought it was Lee Moore. So that makes it even weirder. Like, he didn't, say, hey, I'm actually Barry Morphew, etc., Wow, that's crazy. 5 days before the arrest, the woman said Barry Morphew told her his real name. Okay, so he did say what his real name was. And that his wife had been abducted in Colorado. I mean, you didn't know who the hell he was? Well, you lived under a rock? Police searched her home and took Barry Morphew's safe back to the police department. So they took a safe back there. Inside the safe was an AR-15 style rifle and a silencer. Man, that's kind of weird, to have a silencer. It's not illegal or anything. It's just like, what's going on with that? Barry Morphew's attorney declined to comment on the report. Barry Morphew is due in court Wednesday for a status conference. Suzanne Morphew, Barry Morphew's wife, was 49 when she disappeared and has been missing and had been missing since May 10th, 2020, Mother's Day, from the Maysville area in Chaffee County. A neighbor called 911 to report that she had gone for a bike ride and never returned. Investigators started rigorous searches in the area and created a tip line. Barry Morphew and a family friend said they were offering a $200,000 reward for safe return. See, I remember saying that $200,000 reward was incredibly suspicious at the time. And that's usually what somebody, I mean, really, the next day you do $200,000, really? That means you're very certain nobody's finding her. But you want to look like you're, like, wow, I'm going to have $200,000. Man, you must really care. No, it means that you know you're not losing it. Her bike and helmet were both found, but there was no sign of Suzanne. Investigators obtained DNA evidence from the bike helmet and Suzanne's vehicle. Based on phone data, investigators said that Barry's cell phone showed that around the time his wife went missing, he turned onto a highway and passed where her bike, helmet, and ultimately were found before turning around to go to work. Oh, interesting. I don't think I remember that part. So it shows that, he likely could have been the one that put it there and then went to work. Barry spoke with investigators and did not admit to doing any wrongdoing. CBI forensic analysis determined that an unknown male DNA on the bike helmet, bike, Suzanne's car, glove box, and back seat of the car did not belong to Barry. The DNA was later determined to partially match DNA found in 3 out-of-state unsolved. Yeah, that part's weird, right? Like, how did that part is a weird element of the case. So it says CBI forensic analysis determined that an unknown male on the bike helmet, the bike, Suzanne's car, glove box, and the back seat of the car did not belong to Barry. That DNA was later determined to partially match DNA found in 3 out-of-state unsolved sexual assault investigations. That's pretty crazy. I mean, that is, how are they going to get around that? That's such a huge thing for the defense to be able to throw in there. In late April 2021, CBI learned that the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office was going to arrest Barry, which was strongly opposed by 2 CBI agents who cited the need for more forensic testing and evidence collection. According to the motion for discovery, the head of the Major Crimes Division of CBI reached out to the sheriffs to advise against arresting Barry. The CBI director communicated the same afterward. Almost a year after Suzanne disappeared, Barry was arrested on May 5th, 2021 on multiple charges, including first-degree murder. I think I heard that a while ago. It's weird that it's still out there. It seems like that would have been resolved. Barry also faced charges of tampering with physical evidence, attempting to influence a public servant, tampering with a deceased human body. Well, what if he hired that other person, Barry pleaded not guilty to the charges. I mean, that definitely would cause reasonable doubt in somebody's mind. Like, how in the hell would that guy's DNA get in the car, At the time of his arrest, and it's just a partial DNA match, so what does that mean, In a separate case, Barry was also charged with forgery after he allegedly submitted a mail ballot in his wife's name. He later pleaded guilty to forgery of a government-issued document in July of 2022 and received a 1-year deferred sentence and community service. Denver 7 covered each day of Barry's preliminary hearing in August of 2021. To learn about the court discussion in depth, click here. Blah, blah, blah. Prosecutors had argued that Barry discovered his wife was having an affair, then killed her, disposed of her body, and staged a bike crash in rural area. The judge ruled on September 17, 2021, that the case would go to trial. He also set a cash-only bond. 3 days later, Barry was released on bond, and his 130-page arrest affidavit, which detailed the allegations into why he was arrested in connection with his wife's disappearance and alleged death, was made available to the public. The affidavit was authored on May 4, 2021, a little more than a week after Barry's September 2021 release from jail. A woman who was suspected of having a relationship with Barry was arrested on, let's see, a little more than a week after Barry's September 20. Wow, so he was having a relationship that soon. Was arrested on a trespassing charge after allegedly entering the property of where the Morphews used to live. The woman was later arrested and identified as Shoshana L. Dark of Salida. She faced a charge of second-degree trespassing. In October of 2021, Judge Murphy disqualified himself from the case, citing that one of the individuals representing Shoshana had a long-time friendship with the judge, which included their time in high school. As a result of that move, Judge Murphy announced in December of 2021 that he had also granted the motion to disqualify himself from the Morphew case due to a friendship with a possible witness's attorney. In early January of 2022, Judge Ramsey L. Lama was appointed to take over the case. According to documents obtained by Denver 7 in October of 2021, attorneys representing Barry said they intended to sue prosecutors and investigators for what they claim was unlawful arrest, malicious prosecution, and defamation. Attorneys said investigators omitted crucial evidence in the case, including DNA evidence. Yeah, see, that's the thing. They omitted the DNA evidence from an alleged sex offender and engaged in extreme and outrageous conduct. They said they intended to file a lawsuit against 26 individuals associated with the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office, the 11th Judicial District Attorney's Office, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and the FBI. The documents indicated that the attorneys alleged that DNA evidence found in the glove box of Suzanne's car matched the same profile as a single or multiple individuals across the country involved in sexual assault cases. So there's probably like this little tiny bit of DNA, and they're saying multiple people, and said that after a year of having the evidence, Chaffee County Deputy District Attorney Jeff Lindsay followed up on an individual in Phoenix who appeared to match the DNA profile found on Suzanne's glove box, but the Arizona individual refused to cooperate and retained a lawyer. As the case moved from the investigation stage into the courtroom, it gained more and more local and national attention, media coverage, and negative pre-trial publicity. Are you guys going to be typing, or it just seems like nobody's saying anything? I don't want to just keep reading. According to an order. As a result of this, the court decided on February 1st, 2022, Barry could not receive a fair trial in Chaffee County, and that the case was moved to Fremont County. The case was set to stay in the 11th Judicial District. About a week after the announcement that the trial would move counties, Barry's defense team filed a motion to dismiss the first-degree murder case against him, noting that investigator had recently called the arrest premature. His attorneys claimed the remarks made the CBI agent Joseph Cahill, or made by him, during a December 2nd, 2021 internal affairs interview were grounds to dismiss the case. Cahill worked on the investigation shortly after Suzanne went missing. In the defense's motion, attorney claimed that Cahill said Barry's arrest was premature and the worst decision that could be made. On April 19, 2022, a Fremont County judge granted the prosecution's motion to dismiss the murder case. So they did it themselves. The motion against the court to dismiss the charges without prejudice, meaning he could be tried again if prosecutors refile charges. After this motion was granted, Barry's defense attorney, Iris Eaton, said there had not been a single ounce of physical evidence connecting Barry to Suzanne's death. She said her team was going to get Barry acquitted after a trial. The two Morphew daughters, who were 20 and 16 at the time of Suzanne's disappearance, said their father isn't a killer and celebrated the dismissal of the case. In mid-April of 2023, Barry's attorneys, Etten, called for investigation into the 11th Judicial District Attorney and the 6th other prosecutor in that office, citing a pattern of unethical conduct. Etten filed a complaint March 29th with the Colorado Office of Attorney Regulation asking for discipline for District Attorney Linda Stanley and the other prosecutors who worked on the murder case against Barry. About 2 weeks later, Barry filed a federal civil rights lawsuit. Man, that takes some guts, knowing that you killed somebody, but you do it. In early May of 2023, seeking $15 million over his arrest and first-degree murder charge in 2021. In this 185-page suit, he claimed his constitutional rights were violated by the defendants and that his arrest affidavit included, what a shit show case this is. That's ridiculous. In the 185-page suit, he claimed his constitutional rights were violated by the defendants and that his arrest affidavit included false and misleading information, and as a result, he was wrongly held in jail for about 5 months. A few weeks later, in an interview with Good Morning America, Barry said authorities in Colorado have been wrong to focus on him as the person responsible for the death of his wife. Suzanne remains were found in September of 2023 in Saguache County. The autopsy report confirmed her death was homicide after a mix of powerful sedatives and an opioid painkiller was detected in her system, which matches the tranquilizers he used. Just to throw that in there as an aside. That's kind of weird. I'd like to know way more about the DNA. The prosecutors must believe that they can, like, totally mitigate that, because that alone, if that's just left untouched, is absolutely going to be. I don't know what I would do with that. I mean, you see all this information about Barry Morphew, but then all of a sudden you have DNA that's from an offender? How the hell did that get in there? Now, is it really from the offender? Let's say there's 20... Like here's the thing. If you have a really small DNA sample, and you have the 20 the 20 markers for CODIS, and let's say this guy had 4 of them. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that have the 4. Okay, so it might be something where, okay, sure. And the way it works is, like, let's say you have 20 markers, right? And it's for CODIS, and they have these percentages that they've built out over the years. So if you have, like, let's say your first marker is AB. Well, 1 in 10 people, let's say 1 in 2 people have that one. Okay, so 50% have that. Then you move on to the next marker, and let's say 1 in 5 have that. So now it's like, okay, I think it's 1 in 10 or have those 2 together. And then let's say the next one is 1 in 30. Well, now it's 1 in, I think it's 3,000 have those 3 in combination. But 3,000, 1 in 3,000, we have 300 million people, so a lot of people have that. And so you might get to like 5 or 6, and you're still like, 1 in 50,000. And then you go, well, okay, so that means that, there's hundreds and hundreds of people that have that. And it turns out that a couple of them were sex offenders. So that's what they might be going on. Well, he's lawyered up because they're going to try to pin something on him. Yeah, forget it. Right. Yeah, so there was some interesting stuff in here I wanted to look at. I don't know. They said something about a sex offender. I don't know. If it was from a mechanic, then okay. So that's what you're talking about. They also said there was DNA in the glove compartment. I just wanted to read some of these things, right? These little bullet points in here. So it says Mr. Morphew was okay. So let's see. It says right here, accounting, exculpatory admission, leaving the allegedly fabricated, misleading evidence. The district court summarized what the arrest affidavit would tell an objective observer. And this is from April 6th of this year. So Mr. Morphew was controlling and both physically and emotionally abusive according to his wife. He was suspicious that she was cheating, at least emotionally, and they fought frequently. She didn't feel safe at home with him and tried to break up with him a few days. What do you mean break up with him a few days before she disappeared? It's not like they were boyfriend-girlfriend. I mean, tried to leave him. Mr. Morphew's behavior on the Sunday of Suzanne's disappearance was unusual. He had a job planned in Broomfield and was supposed to pick up an employee at 5:30 p.m. to drive to Bloomfield and then stay overnight in a hotel that he had booked over a week in advance. But he instead left his house at 5:30 a.m. and drove to Broomfield alone. This was Mother's Day, and according to Mr. Morphew's father-in-law, it was strange that he would work the Sunday of Mother's Day, as he rarely worked on Sundays. He was observed throwing trash away in a McDonald's parking lot in Broomfield around 10 a.m. And when questioned, couldn't remember what it was, stating it was probably old clothes or an old pair of boots. He tried to call and text his wife several times throughout this day. Mr. Morphew was the last person to see Suzanne alive. By his own admission, he was alone with her from the afternoon of May 9th until the morning of May 10th when she disappeared. And he would have had time to murder her and dispose of the evidence. Suzanne's computer and phone exhibited activity late into the evening of May 9th, however, indicating she may still have been alive at the time. And it says, Mr. Morphew, let's see. Suzanne's computer and phone exhibited activity late into the evening of May 9th, however, indicating she may have still been alive at the time. Mr. Morphew's memory regarding the events leading up to Suzanne's disappearance is fuzzy, and he gave conflicting statements about those events, including about whether they went on a hike together the day before the disappearance. He had scratches on his arm after she disappeared. Mr. Morphew suggested that saying "I don't recall" is code for not wanting to tell the truth, but himself stated that he didn't recall a number of key events leading to his wife's disappearance. Mr. Morphew has previously bought and used tranquilizer chemicals in darts that he filled himself. He had a tranquilizer gun, but it was not operable and hadn't been used recently. He gave conflicting statements about whether he had used the tranquilizer darts in Colorado. An expert was surprised that a civilian would have those tranquilizer chemicals. Mr. Morphew started liquidating assets and seeing another woman shortly after Suzanne disappeared, long before her body was found. Suzanne's mountain bike was found in a ravine near their home, and dogs detected her scent in that area. Unknown male DNA was found on the bike. On the carpet by their bed and on a stair in their house and in her car. The DNA from her car potentially matched that from unsolved sexual assault investigations. It's still sitting there. Cadaver dogs did not alert to Mr. Morphew's truck, and GPS data indicated that his Bobcat skid steer had not moved since before Suzanne's disappearance. Mr. Morphew is a skilled hunter and a landscaper, and may have had the tools and expertise to kill his wife, bury her body, and destroy the evidence. Don't you think I should get some reading super chats, you guys? It's been like about an hour and a half since the last super chat came in here. So if you guys have the ability to help support the channel in these late night hours, reading and reading and reading and reading, that would be fantastic. It gets really discouraging looking up and realizing you're just reading and reading and reading and reading. Cadaver dogs did not alert to Mr. Morphew's truck. Okay, Mr. Morphew is a skilled hunter and landscaper and may have had the tools and expertise to kill his wife, bury her body, and destroy the evidence. Okay, and then there seemed like there was other parts that look like that. Why do they keep mentioning that? DNA is going to be a problem for them, you know? Let's see. So what's this? Mr. Morphew's daughter's admission that her parents argued a lot and she feared they would separate or divorce. Suzanne's sister, Melinda Baumunk, described Mr. Morphew as one who lives a double life, is a liar, is an adulterer, and is a bully who has to have control, is cunning, fools people a lot, and treats his wife and daughters as trophies. Hey, thanks, Jim Law. There you go. Marty was looking for you earlier. He likes going back and forth with you. Suzanne texted the following to her sister. So this is interesting. Suzanne texted the following to her sister 2 days before she disappeared. It's hard dealing with the harsh abrasiveness and having to show respect. He's also been abusive emotionally and physically. There's so much, and a ... I went through a period of acceptance, and I feel more angry now. Anger at what I've allowed. Suzanne kept a list of grievances about her husband on the notes application on her phone, which included physical abuse, stalking Sheila and me in house without telling, chased me around resort and threatened, took phone, not safe alone with you, can't be trusted, oppressive, and accused me of boyfriend. Suzanne texted Mr. Morphew a few days before she disappeared. She said, "I'm done. I could care less." It's supposed to be, I couldn't care less. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. Like she doesn't care what he's been doing for years, but just need to figure this out civilly. Mr. Morphew declined to submit to a polygraph examination regarding his memory of the events leading up to Suzanne's disappearance and his alibi. What the hell is a super chat? Well, apparently nobody knows tonight. Let's see. Investigate. I'm just kidding. I know that a lot of people supported the channel. It's been another struggle. Let's see. Investigators observed scratches on Mr. Morphew's upper left arm 3 days after Suzanne disappeared. He also declined polygraph. That doesn't mean shit, though. Mr. Morphew thought it was very suspicious that Suzanne would not tell him about some of their communications, even if he did not know she was involved in a sexual relationship with another man. Mr. Morphew's conflicting statements about whether he went on a hike to Fusus Lake with Suzanne the day before her disappearance. Mr. Morphew conflicted statements about whether he used his tranquilizer or darts in Colorado, including his admissions that I've shot 2 deer with my tranquilizer gun. Because I used to raise deer and I collect horns, and that I've shot deer from that little breezeway from between the garage and the laundry room. Mr. Morphew's admission that he used BAM, Telazol, and xylazine as tranquilizers, and that he brought these chemicals, which he knew to be controlled substances, from Indiana. He bought them. Retired Colorado Park and Wildlife field veterinarian Lisa Wolf surprised that the civilian would have these animal tranquilizers. Mr. Morphew's admission that he kept the tranquilizer chemicals in vials and injected them into darts himself. Suzanne's spy pen recorded Mr. Morphew listening to several episodes of Forensic Files, including 3 episodes about murders during a drive to... Right, but almost all episodes of Forensic Files are about murders, you know. Mr. Morphew was originally scheduled to pick up an employee to drive to Broomfield for a landscape job around 5:30, but he left at 5 a.m. instead, 12 hours earlier than planned. Mr. Morphew was seen carrying unknown items in his hands and placing items into the separate trash cans located on the edge of the McDonald's lot between 10:19 a.m. and 10:41 a.m. on May 10th, 2020, roughly 6 hours after Suzanne was last seen alive. Mr. Morphew was the last person to see Suzanne alive. Mr. Morphew could not recall the items that were in the trash bags. Let me put that. Mr. Morphew was an avid hunter. Right here. Mr. Morphew became intimately involved in a relationship with another woman in the months immediately following Suzanne's disappearance. Suzanne's father felt it was odd that neither of his granddaughters nor Mr. Morphew were home on Mother's Day when Suzanne disappeared, and that it was unusual for Mr. Morphew to work on Mother's Day. What's the deal here? With the DNA thing is bothersome. So let's see what ChatGPT says. What are you talking about, Jessica? You don't want to jump ahead of what? What are you talking about? I don't want to jump ahead, otherwise I'd say it. Say what? What are you talking about? You haven't heard what yet? What are you talking about? You guys? You guys are so confusing. Let's see. Yeah, there's tons of it. You know, we've read the documents in here. You know, yeah, the ban, all that stuff. Yeah. We just talked about that a minute ago. Yeah. Let's see. So we have how is Brian Morphew, but not him. How is the prosecution in the Barry Morphew case going to explain the DNA from a possible sex offender being in Suzanne's car?
The prosecution has several ways it can deal with the unknown DNA issue, and I suspect they will pursue more than one simultaneously. First, It is important to distinguish what the DNA actually is versus what people infer from it. The testimony in the earlier proceedings was that there was a partial male DNA profile found on the glove box of Suzanne's vehicle that was associated.
Yeah, the chemicals that were found in Suzanne Morphew's body when she was finally found matched the tranquilizers that he used. Exactly. Like the same chemical compound. Yeah.
Associated with partial profiles from 3 unsolved sexual.
See, we went over those documents a long time ago when her body was found and he was arrested, and it has all that information in there.
Sexual assault investigations in Arizona and Chicago. It was not identified as a convicted sex offender, and it was described as limited genetic data.
Right.
Oxygen +1. The prosecution will likely argue something along these lines. 1. Secondary transfer. This is probably their strongest response.
I don't know about that.
They may argue that the DNA got onto the glove box through innocent transfer mechanisms.
How? How would another sex offender get on?
Car wash employees, mechanics, valets, service technicians, someone handling paperwork.
I think the strongest one is down here. The profile was weak and partial. It was not a full profile. It was characterized as limited. Right, so I just went through and explained it to you guys. Like, if there's only like 3 of the markers, you could have, sure, it match him, and it could also match the Pope. It just doesn't, doesn't mean anything. Yeah, anyways. Okay, I'm going to get out of here. But thanks, everybody, for being here. Appreciate it. Thanks to Alley Cake, and then we had Alley Cake, and then we had Karen, and of course Wild Bill Wassman, and Bad Juju was here been a member for 7 months. Then we had Joel Burnt, Karen, South Texas Guy, then NM, Horse Teeth, Cow Teeth, Joel Burnt, Wild Bill Wassman, Karen, and then we had Body Blow Biscuit Butter. And they mentioned the same channel we were talking about. So we had 2 10s. Those are the 3 10s. Or I guess the largest one tonight was Karen's at 1777. So we had Alley Cake, Joel Burnt, Wild Bill Wassman, Karen, KMTX, Body Blow Biscuit Butter, Wild Bill Wassman, Alley Cake, Wild Bill. Thanks, Wild Bill. Kept us going. Karen, Gianna, then Wild Bill again. Then we had Katie's Corner, Wild Bill again. Randizzle Randy, Michelle H, Wild Bill. Then I gifted 5. Then Jim Lon. And then we also had Marty's Bar and Grill with the coffees in there. And then we also had Sandy and Karen on PayPal. So there you go. Cool. It's kind of a long show tonight. 3 hours and 30 minutes. Yeah. There was another murder down where her body was found. There was another missing person. I remember that. Anyways, thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for all who supported the channel. Thanks, everybody, for, maybe hit that like button on the way out the door. That'd be great. We only have 121 likes, which is absolutely pathetic. Yet again, nobody seems to just naturally think of hitting the button. It's pretty simple. But thanks, everybody. Well, that was a pretty interesting show. Went over a lot of different stuff. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time. And until next time, be safe out there. Hey, remember how I found out exactly where her body was found by triangulating mountains?
The truth is, you're as dumb as they come.
All right. Thank you for watching Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube, where we cover true crime using logic, reason, and that elusive common sense. Thank you very much for watching. And, as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.
Evil can never be dead enough. And some of you, you make shit up.
All right, see you guys.